a UMass Boston home opener and overall opener, whereas on the opposite side, the Stevens Institute Technology Ducks play their 7th game already in the month of February. An incredible feat. This is the second earliest game in UMass Boston program history. But today the Beacons take on a team led by Kristaps Aldens, who's already 3-3 on the season, and they have played some incredibly tight games this season, earning some comeback victories and some tight losses, including a 1-0 loss last Sunday to 24th-ranked Rowan University. My name is Seth Rensky, joined by Gigi Braga. And Gigi, the last time the Beacons were on this field, they were celebrating on a slightly warmer day a super regional championship. This year's team looks a little bit different, though. The entire left side of the infield, 9 total seniors gone, including 5 starters in the lineup. This Beacons team has a lot to replace offensively.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice when you turn your mic on and talk, right? I agree, Seth. I mean, I think that's one of Brendan Eigerboat's biggest, I wouldn't say struggle, but something that he really had to adjust with losing such a big senior class and, having to find the right fit. You get a couple of transfers in, a couple of freshmen, even some returners stepping up and filling in those spots that his 9 seniors, they did a great due to this program, and they, helped lead them to all the World Series that they had in the past 4 years. And I think that this is something that Coach Eigerboat has really honed in on, and that's something that he wants to focus on this season. And you look at, the amount of games that Stevens already played. UMass Boston was supposed to have their home opener yesterday, got postponed, and now they're playing here today. You're seeing really 2 different sides of the book here. A team that, kind of has, or should have, quote unquote, their kinks a little bit out of the way already. They've created that chemistry, especially your infielders, your outfielders, even your catchers and pitchers in Ducks team. And then on the Beacon side, this is kind of their starting point. You got to figure out, what chemistry works, what players work with other players, and who doesn't. And I think that this is going to be a great game for us to see both sides.
For UMass Boston, they lost 6 position players, 5 seniors, and Anthony Cesare, who was graduating after his junior season. Those 6 players combined for 66% of their runs, 56 of their RBI, 68% of their extra base hits, and 59.6% of their steals. So a lot to replace. A lot of that is coming from guys who didn't see a lot of action last season, and the Beacons also adding a couple junior transfers and a freshman starting shortstop. Let's take a look at our 4 things to know. UMass Boston ranked in the preseason polls after their 3rd trip to the College World Series in 10 years. This is the first ever meeting between these 2 teams because the last 2 years it snowed right before this weekend. So Stevens is up to not only play UMass Boston but also Endicott College tomorrow. The Beacons are 5-0 in their past 5 seasons in home openers, including a perfect 4-0 mark at Monin Park. Over the past 4 seasons, UMass Boston an incredible 72-19 here at Monin Park. And while we won't see him today, senior lefty Chandler Brierly stands at 6'8" and was named the 13th best MLB prospect in Division III. Today, the Ducks will go with freshman Leo Bristow, who pitched incredibly well last weekend. Let's take a look at our player to watch for UMass Boston. And Gigi, there's not a lot of position players we can talk about, but Danny Brown, a senior captain on this team, had a really good postseason, and he's going to be the leadoff hitter this year for UMass Boston with guys like Josh Lopez, Nick Herzog, a lot of the front of that lineup all graduating. Brown's going to be the first guy to step into that leadoff spot.
I think Danny Brown's going to have to take on a little bit of a different role than he's been used to. Transferred over from UMass Amherst his freshman year, didn't see that much time due to injury, and then stepped up real big last season. You see there the MOP of the LAC tournament. He had a great junior season, and I think now in his senior season there's a lot of expectations, not only from the fans, from himself, from his coaching staff, and even from the team for him to step up. And, as a center fielder, you have to have that great communication with the rest of your outfielder, be that senior leader, and then hitting leadoff as well. You lose one of your best leadoff hitters, and, he really hit, that 3-4 spot a couple of times last year, even that 6-7 spot, and now having to be a leadoff. Got to change your mindset a little bit.
Let's take a look at our Beacons defensive lineup. First time that UMass Boston has put out this starting 9. Nick Cucharo and Danny Brown both were starters on that College World Series team. Steve Brookwell spent a year at Division I Villanova University, only played 1 game, but very successful last year at Rowan University at Gloucester County, a very good JUCO that made it to the College World Series at the NJCAA level. Thomas Q was a backup a season ago. He gets the start at 3rd. Freshman Gianni Zarilli, the freshman shortstop. Ryan Leung, another backup. He gets the start at 2nd. Ryan McCormick at 1st. Nico Kides, a pair of starters starters a year ago. And Tyler Aruda, a second-team All-Region player, gets the start on opening day. We'll take a break for the national anthem, bring you the numbers on Aruda and the starting lineup for the Stevens Ducks.
With the Pilgrims in the visitor spot. 3-2, swung on a pitch outside, set 7 runners to the plate. 2-2, did he go? It sure looks like it, and fine, just because of the awkward dimensions and deepness, as Riley looks like he's got another extra base hit, hits it hard. Powers is running hard, but Riley can fly. Powers picks it up and won't even try to get it in, and for the Hooters, who stayed on as the DH. The 1-2, McCormick hits it off the middle. Jimenez diving stop, can't get there. And the Beacons with a pitch bump from McCormick have the first lead of the day. Opening trim at third after being hit by a pitch to 6. 1 low. Heidi hits it over the head of the shortstop Achilles. McCormick will head to third. Abar the throw is going to be late. And he throws it off the line, allowing Heidi's NCAA game over the last 4 years. Hits it hard off the glove of Champagne. This is going to be a tough play, and it will score a run as Charlie Hughie extends the hitting streak. And Charlie has now hit safely in.
And welcome back to Monin Park as you see some highlights of last year's.
Another run will score. Birdseye takes off for second. The tag is in time, but the run will score.
How fast
The 1-2 on the inside corner, strike 3, the fifth.
Those were some highlights from last year's Super Regional Final. Didn't quite have time to get them during our pregame. First game of the season for everybody. Let's take a look right now at the lineup for the Stevens Institute of Technology. Gigi, this team already playing their 7th game, and they've kind of found a starting lineup. It's not a lineup that's hit all that well at .247 on the season. Their pitching staff holding opponents to a .204 batting average. But it's a group under Kristaps Aldens that brought back a couple of their top hitters, including A.J. Falconite, a second-team all-conference player, Ryan Finnegan, a little bit further down the lineup, also coming off a strong season, and Nate Zuckerman, not a great hitting catcher, but he is an on-base machine, and he moves up to the leadoff spot today for a Stevens team that graduated 4 all-conference position players from last year's team that ended the season 13-5 in the Empire 8 conference and 18-21 overall.
I know that normally when you see a catcher, you're thinking big numbers there, but Nate Zuckerman, as you said, his OBP, as long as his OBP is high, that's what you need out of your leadoff. Whether it's, you're even getting on base on a drop third strike, whatever it may be, put the ball in play. You got to get on base to let your 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters get you around. There's table setters and table clearers, and as a leadoff, you got to set the table before they can bring you in.
Let's take a look right now at the Beacon starting pitcher very quickly. Tyler Aruda is what you would call a bad weather starter. We've seen him excel in some of the worst of conditions. The junior out of New Bedford, Massachusetts, making his first start of the season after starting in each of the past 2 Little East Conference championship games. An all-conference pitcher a season ago. In fact, all-region as a sophomore, went 7-2 with a save, 66 innings pitched, 2.86 ERA. And his first pitch is up high to the catcher, Nathan Zuckerman. Zuckerman, who had been hitting in the 7th spot, a junior out of Boca Raton, Florida. Very athletic family as the second one bounces up there. His twin brother Eli is a reliever on this team. Sister Casey plays lacrosse at Brown, and their father Benjamin played lacrosse at Harvard. 2-0, breaking ball a little bit low, and quickly 3-0 here. And Gigi, we've got to get the elephant out of the room. It is very cold, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the pitchers on both sides are able to get a handle on the ball as Aruda misses up high. Not something we're used to seeing. Temperatures reaching as high as 38. It feels like in the low 30s. This is not good baseball weather, but these two teams anxious to get this game in either way.
Well, we're always used to, in February, seeing the baseball team play in these ungodly conditions, as we would call them. But, it's what they signed up for. You got to just wear a couple of Under Armours in there. It's really going to be tough for the pitchers, though, especially if, later on into this game, you're, waiting a couple innings and sitting for a long time. And, that's really going to affect them mentally and physically as well.
A.J. Falconite, a check swing, and it's 0-1. First strike of the season for Aruda. Falconite, a senior out of Marlboro, New Jersey. He's the right fielder today. Second team Empire 8 All-Conference as a junior and was named the team MVP. One of 3 players on the team who was named to the Collegiate Baseball newspaper player to watch list as the 0-1 breaking ball catches the inside corner. And a nice bounce back from Aruda has Falconite down in the count 0-2. Falconite, as a junior, finished top 3 on the team in average on base percentage and slugging percentage. Also led the team with 39 hits and 118 at-bats. Pops it up foul. Finished the season with 24 runs, 28 RBI to pace the team. 4 doubles, 4 homers, 36 strikeouts, which was first, but also 26 walks. So it's 0-2 here to AJ Falconite, with Zuckerman over there at first base. This is a team that does not run much, just 9 walks or 9 steals in 9 attempts this season, and only 1 sacrifice bunt. One and two to Falconite to throw over. McCormick will apply the tag in there in time. Falconite on the year, 6 for 24. 3 runs, 2 doubles, 4 strikeouts, and 2 walks. 1 for 1 on the base pass. Takes a breaking ball that's a little bit low, but he gets the called strike 3 call. So no balls in play, but Aruda has his first out of the season. A strikeout looking. And we'll take a look at that strike 3 call when we get a moment.
That's something that as a hitter, you got to adjust to, and Falconite will have to make that adjustment next time he comes up to bat. And the first inning, you always got to get the feel for what the umpire's eye is. Some of them like it high, others like it low, and the first couple of batters, especially in the inning, you always see them. You really got to test that zone. Maybe take a couple of pitches that you normally wouldn't swing at and see where your umpire's eyes are at.
Frank Auditor, our home plate umpire, Alan Hull on the bases, and Auditor is clearly showing an inclination for that low strike as Thomas Polich takes a low 1-4 strike 1. Zuckerman diving back in there. Zuckerman on the season is 1 for 1 on the base pass, but this is a team that just doesn't like to run all that much. Brings up Thomas Polich, the junior shortstop out of Glen Cove, New York, 6'1", 190. 0-1 to him, another breaking ball, and this one catches the outside corner. Polich attended Kellenberg Memorial High School and was named the Empire 8 Rookie of the Year as a freshman when he played third base. He's also named to the Collegiate Baseball newspaper player to watch list before this season. 0-2 to Polich, and another strike 3 looking. And Gigi, I think another part to this is Frank Auditor wants to see some swings. Thus far, we've seen a very patient approach from the Ducks after that 4-pitch walk to start the inning. And when it's as cold as it is today, no one wants to stand around and watch a walk fest and a lot of long at-bats. And maybe Auditor's trying to speed this game up just a little bit. So we see a strike swinging foul back from Thomas James, the DH today, for this Stevens side.
Well, I think even as a coaching staff, you got to tell your players, you see that he's getting that strike zone. As long as he's being consistent with it, I think a lot of coaches would agree. Strike zone may be something that a lot of coaches don't agree with, but as long as you're consistent to both sides.
Runner takes off, the throw is in there, and Zerilli can't hang on. It'll be a stolen base for Zuckerman.
As long as your umpires are consistent, both your field umpire and your home plate umpire, I think most coaches would agree that that's okay, and that's something that athletes need to adjust to. And if he's going to call that low strike and Aruda's breaking balls are working, you got to adjust to that.
0-2 here to Tom James, the sophomore DH out of Murrieta, California. Probably a little bit cold for him. His father, Joe, played baseball at UCLA, a team that had a lot of success in last year's Division I tournament. He comes into today's action, tops on the team with his .364 batting average, 8 of 22. Chance to drive in an early run here. 0-2, 2 outs, a runner on second. Takes it low, and this time it's just a bit too far inside, it looked like. James was limited to 18 games and 6 starts as a freshman, went 10 of 26. This season, 8 for 22, 3 runs, 4 RBI, 2 doubles, and tied for the team lead with 6 strikeouts. Breaking ball in there for strike 3. Aruda walks the leadoff hitter, and then 3 straight strike 3 lookings. Take a look at some of those strikeouts after the break as UMass Boston will get their first crack at Leo Bristow.
It's hard not to get emotional at a UMass graduation. It is amazing to see what UMass graduates accomplish once they leave the university. You see that UMass is here for the Commonwealth, here for a reason. The 5-campus UMass system is the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
And welcome back. Before we get you the Beacons starting lineup, let's take a look at a pair of strikeouts for the Beacons pitcher Tyler Arruda. And it's been kind of the same thing, Gigi. These low strike threes looking. This is James, the final batter. Right at the knee, maybe a little low. I know you as a softball player, as a hitter, probably don't appreciate that, but it's not far below. And here's another look at a strike three. Same spot.
Yeah, I mean, he's working that low corner there. You saw against James, he went that low inside, and I believe that was either Pollock or Falconite. There, he's working that low and outside spot right below the knees, a little bit there. And again, as long as the home plate umpire stays consistent, I'm sure that especially good hitters like the Stevens team has, they're going to adjust to it and they're going to start getting a bat on the ball. We haven't seen a ball in play yet, but if you can just maybe get a little bit of that barrel on that ball, it can really put a lot of pressure on your defense.
Let's take a look at Leo Bristow, the freshman righty out of Sherman Oaks, California. 6'1", 168, nominally their third starter, but he's pitched well thus far, making his third appearance and second start. 0-1 with a 4.09 ERA, a team-high 11 innings pitched. 10 strikeouts to 4 walks, 6 hits, 5 earned, has allowed 1 home run, and opponents have hit just 182 against him. In the opener of the season against Rutgers Newark, a loss, he went 4 innings and took the loss. No hits, 2 earned, 7 strikeouts versus 4 walks, and threw 3 wild pitches. Last Saturday, got a no decision against William Patterson out of the NJAC. 7 strong, 6 hits, 3 earned, 3 strikeouts, no walks, allowed a home run, a wild pitch, and a hit-by pitch in that 6-4 10-inning loss. So we'll get you the Beacons leadoff hitter. That's Danny Brown, and then we'll bring you the Beacons lineup after Brown's at bat. As the Beacons senior out of Hudson, New Hampshire, leads off, position that hasn't done a lot of in his career. Brown is the Beacons starting center fielder and one of the captains on this year's team, along with Joey Rogers, who we expect to see out of the pen later on today, and Ben Gottesman, who will be one of the team's starting pitchers. Not sure if we'll see him Monday or maybe even Thursday when the Beacons play MIT. Quickly 1-1 to Brown. Bristow powers the fastball past Brown, 1-2.
I think Brown wanted that first strike that he had there back. It was right down the middle, could have really barreled it up, and now you put some pressure on your hitters here in a 1-2 count.
Brown 6'1", 185. You mentioned in the pregame. Attended UMass Amherst to start. They switched coaches, and he ended up coming to the Beacons, and we've got our 4th straight strikeout to start this game. It's Brown swings through it, and it will bring up Steve Brookwell. Let's take a quick look at the Beacons lineup before we get to Brookwell. We're making our graphics operator work here. See, the Beacons will go with Brown, Brookwell, McCormick, Kides, Catraro, Palma, and then Cusarilli and Leung here in their opener. Brookwell takes strike 1 on the outside corner. Brookwell, a Villanova transfer, only played 1 game, but played extremely well last year with Rowan University at Gloucester, as the 0-1 misses outside. In 35 games, hit .357, a .507 on base percentage, .402 slugging percentage, 40 of 112, 34 runs, 17 RBI, 3 doubles, a triple, and walked 29 times versus 20 strikeouts. That is not a swing there from Brookwell, and he's ahead in the count 2-1 for the junior out of Hightstown, New Jersey. First look at Brookwell, who has some big shoes to fill out there in right field, replacing National Position Player of the Year, Nick Herzog, who's now a member of the Beacons coaching staff, at least until May when he looks to continue his professional playing career. So 2-2 here to Brookwell in the 2 spot. One of 2 new faces in the Beacon starting lineup. Chops it up the middle to Paulich. Bobbles, has plenty of time, throws, and a good pick by Gannon Kenny McGowan for out number 2.
It's a great play there by McGowan to really be able to stretch there. And, as a first baseman, you never want to commit a little bit too early to that bag because you don't know where your throw's going to take you, whether it's coming from third, from short, even from second. It might get a little bit of an overthrow. Committed just at the right time, was able to get that stretch in and get that out.
Ryan McCormick, the Beacon senior first baseman, steps up. 6'2", 205 out of Cumberland, Rhode Island. Takes the first pitch strike. McCormick, a player who hit over 300 as a freshman pinch hitter, then was an all-region player as a sophomore, hitting over 350, but really struggled a season ago, hitting under 250, and he's a player the Beacons are hoping will have a big bounce-back season. So he gets to hit out of the 3-hole in this season opener, quickly behind 0-2. We've seen Bristow work quickly. 0-2, takes it up high and outside, 1-2. And Gigi, when you talk about some of the Beacons that UMass Boston graduated, guys like Riley and Herzog and even Boudris, they need someone who not only can hit for average, but a little bit of power as McCormick hits that one out to shallow center. Finnegan coming in has a ton of time and will make the play. We can talk about Beacon's offensive players who need to step up this year. Nothing doing in the first inning against Bristow. It is 0-0 after 1 here at Monon Park.
The 5-campus UMass system is the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well, and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, and UMass helped me.
0-0 after 1 here in the Beacons 2020 opener as Nico Kaides behind the plate for his sophomore season. One of those Beacons who could be taking a step forward. Gigi, we didn't see him in the first, but he's in the cleanup spot today after hitting 8th for most of last season ahead of Charlie Hughey. I think when you look at the Beacons lineup, we'll see the Stevens lineup here in the top of the second. It's the returners who you hope will take big steps forward, taking some of the pressure off guys who didn't see as many at-bats or games last year, especially guys like Kaides and McCormick, guys who could step up, have the potential to be 300 hitters and a little bit of pop out of the bat as well.
You talk about Brookwell having big shoes to fill defensively for Nick Herzog, and now a guy like Nico Kaides has even bigger shoes to fill.
That one is hit out to right field off the bat of Kenny McGowan. And an easy play for Brookwell, his first defensive play as a Beacon on the fly out down the right field line.
Big shoes to fill, and Nick Herzog batting cleanup last year, had an excellent season. Now you're throwing in, a sophomore who, had really good production in the bottom of the lineup, and now you're putting him in that 4 spot. That's a lot of trust that Brendan Eigerboat's putting in him and saying, hey, we need you to produce.
Brings up Sutton Dole, the left fielder who takes a low strike on strike 1. Had been hitting out of the cleanup spot, moves down to 6 today. The sophomore out of Houston, Texas, attended Langham Creek High School. Swing and a miss on the breaking ball, 0-2. 3-time Empire 8 Rookie of the Week last season before a season-ending injury cut his years short. Only appeared in 18 games, 14 starts. This season, it's off to a rougher start, hitting just 150, 3 for 20. The run scored and an RBI. Does have a team best 4 walks. And it's 1-2 now as that ball ends up in the left-hand batter's box. Dole, as a freshman, didn't qualify for the team lead, but slugged .544. Also had 2 doubles and 4 home runs. It's 2-2 now to Dole, who will be followed by Ryan Finnegan, the team's center fielder and 7-hole hitter. Swung on and missed. And Sutton Dole goes down swinging. So that's the first strikeout swinging for Aruda, and already the 4th strikeout for Aruda here in the season opener. Now, the Beacons' plan is to split this game between Aruda and Rogers. So don't know how long Tyler would go, but certainly a very strong start as the Beacons put the shift on Finnegan. 3 infielders to the right of second base, and he pops it up out into shallow center. Brown coming in, going back is Zerilli, and Gianni Zerilli makes his first play as a Beacon on the pop-up to shallow center. So a quick 1-2-3 inning here in the second. The Ducks start swinging, but still nothing doing for their offense. We head to the bottom of the second. UMass Boston will bring Kites, Cutraro, and Palma, the Nikos, to the box.
For the love of the game. That's what it's all about, they say. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team and the schools and communities we represent.
And for the many of us blessed with the strength to compete in sport at the college level, we understand that with what we were given comes a
UMass Boston not only having to replace a lot of seniors, but the Beacons also having to replace some of their longtime coaches. Daniel Gamble, the Beacons pitching coach, Bobby Barrett, their longtime third base coach, Jamil Moquette, their hitting coach, all leaving after last season to take other positions in the professional world, which means you're going to see some new faces. Fred DeFrance is back along with 16-year head coach Brendan Eigerbrodt, but Brad Fogel, the new Newberry coach, is the first base coach. DeFrance stays at third. Beacons also adding Mark Roach, Justin Kelly, and Nick Herzog is an assistant coach, at least for the next couple months. So a different looking group, and it'll be interesting how they deal with this very new look team. It makes things even harder on Brendan Eigerbrodt as Kites quickly behind 0-2. That one skips up there. A nice job by Zuckerman to stay in front. Kites really came on, especially during the College World Series. Ended his freshman season hitting .226 in 41 games, 37 starts. Takes it low. 2-2 now. Finished 26 of 115, 23 runs, 24 RBI, 7 doubles, and a home run. Came in as a very good defensive catcher. The 2-2 swung on and missed. And Bristow has his second strikeout of the game.
I really thought that Bristow was going to, see what Aruda was pitching and throwing all those low balls and getting those strikes called by the home plate umpire, see if he would try to get it. But he's throwing them right down the middle, or definitely has some spin to it as well. But the Beacons hitters still can't seem to find the rhythm and hit that. So great job by Bristow to keep getting those Ks and getting those runners to swing and miss.
Well, Gigi, your season doesn't start for another 2 weeks, but from experience, those first couple of games in Florida, where obviously pitchers aren't worried as much about the temperature. When you're playing a team at the tail end of their Florida trip, like Stevens would be, game number 7, UMass Boston, game number 1, there's a noticeable difference in the plate approach and also just how many successful swings you get, especially early in those games.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you see these teams, they work at hitting pretty much every single day at practice. And, you're getting a lot of swings, but it's completely different when you're put into a game situation and you're asked to produce. And, you got to face different pitchers. It's one thing facing the pitchers on your team where
Cutraro hits that one out to left. Ton of time for Sutton Doyle, and he'll make the catch a couple of feet shy of the warning track.
It gets to a point where how your pitchers, their mindset, if they're going to go inside, and then drill you on the outside to get you to chase and strike 3. And, playing a different team, you got to come up to the plate with a little bit of a different approach, still get that hitter mentality in there. So definitely something that, the Beacons, first time through the lineup, they may not get the bat on the ball a couple of times, but look for them to produce, innings 4, 5, and 6 as well, and the same thing for the Ducks.
Nick Palma is the Beacons DH, the junior out of Peabody, Mass. Stands at 5'11", 195. He was a guy who saw a couple of starts as a sophomore last year between right field and first base, made 5 consecutive starts when the Beacons were trying to figure out their lineup. Ended his sophomore season hitting 143 as he takes a breaking ball on the inside half, 2-1. Palma went 5 of 35 with a run scored, 7 RBI though. 10 strikeouts and 3 walks. Appeared in one of the Beacons' postseason games. 2-1, just a bit inside. 3-1 now. The one issue that Stevens has had this year from a pitching staff perspective has been their wildness. A lot of walks, a lot of wild pitches. As a pitching staff, they've only allowed opponents to hit 204 as Palma swings at the high fastball, 3-2 now. And thus far, the Beacons have taken an aggressive approach against Bristow, who's really been peppering the zone with a lot of strikes.
He has. I believe this is his first batter that's even gotten to a 3-ball count.
3-2, swung on and missed. Another high strike, and that's 2 strikeouts in the inning, 3 overall for Bristow. We've got a pitcher's duel early on. Still looking for our first hit of the contest as it's 0-0 through 2 innings.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
Little bit of a pause in between the bottom of the second and the top of the third as UMass Boston takes a moment of silence to honor Pete Frates, the former Boston college baseball player who's long suffered from ALS and passed away this winter. Certainly a big-time advocate for the ALS disease and a local celebrity here in Boston. So a nice moment there from the UMass Boston coaching staff, and working alongside Kristaps Aldens, a guy the Beacons coaching staff knows quite well, was the regional director for the UMass Boston Regional last spring when the Beacons won their first ever 4-team regional, and then he came up for a development camp over the summer. So Alden's a Massachusetts native who's coached at both Harvard and MIT, very familiar with Monin Park, as the first pitch is hit out to right center, and Brookwell heading to the gap. He is going to cut it off, and we'll see if that holds Silos to 1. A very nice job by Brookwell to get over there in time. And Chris Silos' first pitch swing has the first hit of this contest. And the third baseman will be over there at first base, the second leadoff base runner for Stevens here in the opening 3 innings.
I like that aggressive approach there by Silos. See that first pitch swinging and doesn't want to get too late into the count. I mean, you got Tyler Ruda, who's already got 4 strikes on the day already. You know, he doesn't want to be that 5th one.
Bunt put down, a rarity. It's from the second baseman Mendez, and a good throw from Q, and McCormick just barely holds onto the bag. So again, this is not a Stevens team that likes to bunt a lot, but recognizing that runs could be at a premium, puts down the bunt. A good one from Mendez. That'll go down as a 5-3 sack bunt, and it brings the top of the order up with a runner in scoring position for the first time today for the Ducks.
I think Coach Eigerboat might be appealing that call there. I don't know what he would really be looking at.
Well, I guess the question would be, if we can take a look at when that bunt was put down, was the hitter still in the box? That's a big issue, especially in softball, but if the batter is out of the box when the bunt is put down, it's a dead ball out. The runner would have to retreat to first. So that's really the one thing you possibly could be looking at there, as it brings up Zuckerman, who walked on 4 pitches and actually stole second with 2 outs in the first inning. So this is the second base runner. First time they've had a runner at second with less than 2 outs, as Zuckerman takes the first pitch on the outside corner. Zuckerman on the year, just 4 for 16, but he has walked 3 times and been hit by a pitch 4 times in just 6 games, 5 starts coming into today. 0-1 with Silos out there at second, and it's chopped foul over the head of the third base coach there for Stevens. And one of the things, Gigi, especially when it's this early in the season, and the Beacons have a new third baseman, shortstop, and second baseman, bunt defense is going to be interesting. Situational defense is going to be interesting with this group, as UMass Boston graduated a fifth-year third baseman, a fourth-year shortstop, and a fourth-year second baseman. That's hit out to shallow right center. Long run for Brown. Has a beat on it. Tagging at second is Silos, and he'll hold on there as Brown double clutched. And an interesting decision by Silos to hold. That seemed like it could have been a chance to move the runner up, but Stevens is going to play it safe with 2 outs.
And they're really going to put the pressure now on Falconite and see if he can drive that runner in. I mean, if you're going to pop that up to center, you would hope that the runner would at least, get a beat on it and try to get to third there, make it a little bit easier on Falconite. Maybe just a base hit gets the runner in instead of having to hit a gap shot.
Well, with 2 outs, Silos should be off, so that might help them. We don't know the arm on Brookwell, who did make a nice running play back in the second inning. Brown does have a strong arm, former quarterback in his high school days, and Cutraro a decent arm out and left. It's 1-0 here to Falconite, who struck out looking, one of 3 straight strikeouts looking to end the first inning. It's the 1-0. Hughes shot off the end of the bat on a check swing, 1-1 now to Falconite on the season, who has a pair of doubles in 6 total hits. Comes into this one with a 4-game hitting streak. Single hit in each of his past 4. After going 2 for 4 in their opener against Rutgers Newark. 1-1 to Falconite, hit out to center. Brown coming in, long run, diving effort, and that's what we see out of Danny Brown on a daily basis. Another great defensive gem, and Aruda able to work around the leadoff single. We head to the bottom of the third. Beacon still looking for their first base runner, as we'll take a look back at that bunt earlier on in the inning by Brett Mendez.
All right, take a look here, and let's see, watch his feet. Yeah, I see why Coach Igerbro, you got that a little bit of that inside the line. It's a good thing that you're playing on turf too, and you're able to, the lines don't get taken away, in softball or even on a regular field where there isn't turf. A lot of the times you get into the third or fourth inning and you don't even have a batter's box anymore because all the chalk has gone away. So good call there by Coach Igerbro, but to no avail.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with the bottom of the third as the Beacons will bring up 7-8-9 for the first time in 2020.
The 5-campus UMass system is the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
Let's take a look at that highlight reel play by Danny Brown to end the the top of the third inning. And Gigi, this is really what we've come to expect from Danny Brown.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at that. He timed it pretty perfectly, and that's something we saw at a lot in the regional tournament.
Thomas Q, first pitch swinging, hits it over to the shortstop Polich, and he beats him by a few steps. So an aggressive approach from Q, the Beacons' sophomore third baseman who makes his first start of the season. Started 1 or 2 games last year when Charlie Hughey suffered an injury. And it'll bring up the new shortstop. A huge spot in the Beacons lineup after Charlie Hughey was an everyday starter there for each of his final 3 seasons. Gianni Zerilli, another shortstop out of Connecticut. Hopefully the Beacons continue to have good luck there. 5'11", 175 out of South Glastonbury, Connecticut. First pitch to Zerilli, and it's on the outside half for strike 1.
Bristow's been working pretty quickly here. Likes to get ahead in his counts, and you see him a lot of first pitch strikes.
0-1 coming to Zerilli, who played baseball and basketball at South Glastonbury before taking a PG year at Salisbury School. Described as very athletic and an exit velocity clocked at 85 miles per hour, which is what you want out of a shortstop. He's got to get out quickly. 0-2, just misses high and outside. He's also played his summer ball with the Connecticut Capitals. It's difficult to find a lot of info on freshmen coming into Division III. That's as much as I could scrounge up on Zerilli, who the Beacons are really high on, as he swings and misses a breaking ball well outside. Already 4 strikeouts for Bristow, all 4 coming by way of the strikeouts swinging. So he and Aruda with 4 strikeouts. And Ryan Leung, the Beacon sophomore out of Brookline, Massachusetts, gets his first at bat here in 2020. A guy who appeared in 32 games last year, 10th on the Beacons, but only saw 32 at bats. Takes the first pitch on the outside corner. Again, that low strike is given, 0-1.
Yeah, Leung is definitely a better defensive player, I would say, than a hitter. But he's done a good job. He's held himself pretty well there. And now he's got a role in the bottom of the lineup. Usually you try to get them to flip the order up, but with the way that the Beacons have been going, they haven't really gotten a runner on. So maybe he can even look to drop a bunt down. You see the third baseman's playing really far back, and see if he can use his speed to his advantage.
0-2, Leung pops it up. This one might stay in play. Couple players over there on the right side, and making the play is Zuckerman. So the Beacons go 1-2-3 for a third straight inning. We'll see if either side can get it going in the top of the fourth. It's 0-0 with just one base hit through the first 3 frames.
Cheer for the stumbles. That he should have had that. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Top of the fourth inning in the second earliest game, at least in terms of the calendar year in program history. Gigi, when you go back through the records, back in the 1980s, the Beacons' earliest game was consistently in April, sometimes as late as April the 15th. That is how far Division III baseball, and honestly, other sports as well, the lacrosse team played last Saturday. They play later on today at 1 p.m. That's how much the calendar has changed over the years. This is the second earliest start date in program history. 2 years ago, the Beacons defeated LaSalle by a 20-1 score on opening day. But cannot imagine this is easy. I mean, you're not a pitcher. You play shortstop for the softball team. But how do you keep your hands warm, not just as a hitter, but as a defender out there so you can get a good grip on the ball and fling it across the infield?
I mean, personally, I just shake them. But you got to have at least 2 or 3 hand warmers in your pocket at all times, and you see Zerilli's doing it, even Q's doing it over there at third and short. You keep your hands in your pocket, you keep them moving. The key is really you just got to keep the blood flowing places, and see the pitchers. It might be even a little bit tougher for them, and even catchers and first basemen. I mean, getting that ball coming in at such a fast speed, and really that's got to hurt your left hand there.
2-0 here to Thomas Paulich. Watches that one just miss. 3-0 now. Paulich struck out looking in the first inning. The 3-0 hitter and shortstop. Stevens got a little bit going against UMass Boston and Tyler Aruda in the third inning. A leadoff single, a sac bunt, and then a pair of balls hit out to center. Danny Brown tracking the first one down, and then a diving catch to end the inning to keep Stevens off the board. 3-1 coming to Paulich, who takes a breaking ball that misses well wide. The second walk of the day by Aruda, along with his 4 strikeouts, although he hasn't struck anyone out since the second inning. Brings up Tom James, the DH, who took strike 3 looking to end the first inning. James in the doubleheader to open the year against Rutgers Newark, 3 for 6 with 3 runs, 3 RBI, and a double. And I just think that was over a week ago. So this Stevens team is very used to playing in the cold. Not that the Beacons aren't. UMass Boston last week scrimmaging Curry on Saturday and then Mitchell on Sunday, although the temperatures were closer to the 50s than the 34 degrees weather.com is registering right now. There's a breaking ball. Did he go? Yes. The throw down at first, not in time, but it's 0-2 here to James. And again, both times we've seen Aruda walk a batter, he's come back and immediately has gotten ahead in the count.
Not something you want as a pitcher. You give up a walk there. You don't want to, have that create not so much compound errors, but just compound mistakes there. You walk one batter, you walk 2, and now all of a sudden you got a runner in scoring position, especially when you have no outs. All it takes is a little poke, and all of a sudden it's a 1-0 game.
James had the game-winning RBI single in the 8th inning against New Jersey City University. That came back on the 21st of February. James stays alive at 1-2. Rutgers played their season opener Stevens Institute Technology played their opener against Rutgers Newark. In fact, a doubleheader on the 16th of February, a full 2 weeks ago, and able to get every game in this season, including 5 consecutive home games before playing at Rowan last Sunday and now at UMass Boston. Flare out to Sherrill Center, another long run for Brown, but he's able to track it down with tons of time, and James is retired for the first out of the top of the 4th. This will bring up Gannon Kenny McGowan, which has got to be not only the longest name in this Stevens lineup, but also probably the best name. The junior out of Plainview, New York, plays first base, stands at 6'4", 196. And he's not even close to the tallest player on the team. We mentioned it in the pregame. That's Chandler Brierly, the senior left-hand pitcher who's 6'8", 197. A top Division III prospect this year when it comes to potentially being drafted. Throw over. This is a Stevens team that has already swiped one bag, but on the year just 10 for 10 with 2 sack bunts. They don't like to play a lot of small ball.
Sometimes in games like this, I would be surprised, especially Coach Igerbro. I mean, we're a little biased to him. We've seen how he played. You know, drop a couple bunts down, especially when you got a runner on first. Kind of use your speed. If you see that you're not getting to the pitchers and hitting gap shots and hitting, you know, those base hits that you really want, drop a bunt down, see if you can get there in any other way. It doesn't matter how you score the run as long as they cross the plate.
1-1 here to McGowan as he misses on the breaking ball there from Aruda. McGowan got off to a phenomenal start against Rutgers Newark. He went 3 for 4 with the run scored, 5 RBI, a double, and a home run. But since then is just 1 for 12 with the run scored and RBI. Swings and misses, thrown out to first, and if that's a better throw from Nico Cadiz, you probably get Paulich. Instead misses high and wide of the bag. And even Nico, whose hands are constantly moving behind the plate, those fingers cannot be warm.
Can't really blame him either. You see, I agree, though. He took a big lead there, Paulich over at first.
2-2 bounces up there, and again, Cadiz quick out of his stance. 3-2 here with 1 out. Paulich on the season over there at first base, who worked a walk, is 2 for 2 on the base pass. Do you send him here with this low-scoring pace? 3-2, they do send him, and it's fouled off again here by Kenny McGowan, whose mom, Terry, played softball and baseball at New York Institute of Technology.
Softball and baseball.
Softball and basketball, sorry.
Okay, there we go. That sounds a little...
You know, it is possible to play baseball as a female. There was I just read a great article about Oberlin College, the Yeomen, who were absolutely terrible at baseball in the late 1980s, early 1990s, and they were one of the first teams to institute a shift. They called it the fly trap, where they would put 5 players in the outfield because their pitching was so bad, and they would just lob the ball up, hoping that they would create fly balls that they maybe could catch because they were losing games by 10 to 15 runs. So 3-2, swung on and missed on the high juice up at eye level. So
I think Kenny McGowan would want that at bat back there. You see him kind of walking off there. That's one of those pitches where, you know, I don't know if Aruda missed a spot, but on a 3-2 count there, you got to be thinking, you know, you got to be a good enough pitch to hit. You got to protect your plate a little bit, but at a ball that's up at your eyes, something you don't swing at.
As the runner takes off, throw on the opposite side of the bag, and another stolen base, the 3rd of the year for Paulich and 2nd of the day for Stevens. But finishing off that story, they did have a woman on the baseball team that year when they believe they finished without a win, and the fly trap did not work very well because teams just started bunting on them constantly. 0-1 to Dole. Chops it over on the left side. This is going to be a tough play for Q as the runner halfway in between. Long throw, well wide, and that's going to be an error and allow a run to score. That's a ball, Gigi, that maybe you just gobble up and don't throw.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree. That was a slow enough roller that you saw him. I don't know if he thought that ball was going to go foul. Ended up staying fair, but Dole was, you know, 1, even 2 steps away from the bag at that point. Great arm there by Q. You really saw the speed of his throw. But if that's not on the mark, you're never going to get that runner out. You got to hold him there, even if it's at 1st and 3rd.
So an unearned run goes down as an error, and then allowing both runners to advance an extra base. So now 1-0 Stevens, and it brings up Finnegan. We'll take a look at that play. And not only does Q probably not need to throw that ball, with the runner halfway in between, Q's easier play might have been to just take on that runner in between second and third who was just waiting to take third, hoping that ball would get away.
Yeah, take a look at second there. Even if you're going to fake a throw over to first base, and that's something you just got to look up real quick and realize how close your runner is to that bag.
1-1 with 2 outs here to Finnegan, who popped up to the shortstop in shallow center to end the second. Steven takes the lead on a walk, a stolen base, and an error, and that one's floated out of play. Let's see if we can bring you that play right now. And just not a terrible play by Thomas Q, but this is a play that maybe Eddie Riley does something different. You see the runner so far off second base, that's a dead fish in between, and then the throw off, I don't think McCormick could have done a ton about that. Obviously, you want your first baseman to come off the bag, but that one was well wide of the bag and thrown with quite a bit of velocity.
That's the other thing I was going to say. McCormick really didn't have that much time to react because Q's throw was so strong.
1-2 way off the outside edge, but Finnegan goes fishing and misses. So Aruda adds 2 more strikeouts in the inning, but an unearned run gives Stevens a 1-0 lead through 3.5.
Cheer for the stumbles. That he should have had that. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Take a look around the rest of the Little East Conference. There are teams playing. That Union Castleton game was played down south. I think they're in Florida, maybe South Carolina. UMass Dartmouth and Becker, though, they're in the Northborough complex, and UMass Dartmouth off to a good start. They've already beaten Emerson last weekend. They lead Becker 8-2 on the top of the second in game 1 of that doubleheader. Good luck to those folks who are outside for not 1 but 2 games today at the Northborough complex. Never been there. I know it has a very, very short outfield, so maybe that could be part of the reason why, depending on how the wind is up in Northborough, balls might be flying. For UMass Boston, they faced their first deficit of the year. Top of the order looking for their first base runners. Danny Brown, first pitch swinging, pops it up, foul. Brown struck out swinging his first at bat. So Leo Bristow has cruised through the first 3 frames and now works with the lead. Bristow, the freshman of Sherman Oaks, California. Nominally the 3rd starter at this point, as that one misses behind Brown with the breaking ball. Chandler Brierly is their top returning starter. Michael Frisora, who's pitched extremely well. Another senior, was their team's top reliever last year, but likely a weekend starter this year, as he's already made 2 starts. That one almost catches a player, catches Brown inside. 2-1 here to Brown.
I think if the weather was a little bit warmer, Brown would have let either one of those balls hit him and taken that walk there, but in a 34-degree weather, it's going to hurt a little bit more.
2-1, ripped through the right side. The Beacons have their first hit and first base runner, and maybe it doesn't matter that Brown didn't sacrifice the body there. And we'll see what the Beacons do here with Brookwell. We don't have a scout on how good of a bunter he is, but UMass Boston is a team that likes to bunt. Last season, 29 sacrifices in 50 games. They also stole 94 times in 108 attempts. So see if the Beacons attempt to get aggressive here with their first base runner. For Brown, a perfect 13 of 13 on the base pass.
I wouldn't be surprised if, depending on the count that Brookwell gets in and what Bristow's throwing.
That one gets through the catcher, and that'll easily advance Brown up on the wild pitch. So just like that. And Gigi, we've got to talk about it, and this is not to take anything away from this pitching staff, but they have really struggled with their wildness. 14 wild pitches in just 6 games this year, 11 hit by pitches, and 34 walks in 53 innings. It's the one thing we haven't seen out of Bristow yet, but it's not surprising that it comes out with the runner on, as that catches the outside corner strike. No, it's 2-0. Thought that was clearly with this slightly extended zone going to be strike one, but instead it's 2-0 here to Brookwell.
And the important thing here for Bristow is, don't let this get into your head. Yes, you got a little bit wild there with Brown, threw a pitch behind his back, and then one, that almost clipped him, and then you get him on base, and now you throw a wild pitch. See if you can go to work here on Brookwell, see if you can get an out, find an out somewhere, and, batter by batter, you take it here, but you allow a couple more wild pitches, the Beacons are going to take advantage every single time. They're a very quick team, and they like to use their speed to, maybe even look for Brown to take third. I don't think he will, but always got to keep that in mind.
2-1 to Brookwell, who grounded out to the shortstop, hits it out to left on a line, and this one is going to be caught right off the turf by Sutton Doyle for out number one. That one hung up just long enough for Doyle, and Brown able to get back in time. So you move the runner up to second with one out. Not the way you would have liked with the wild pitch and then an unproductive out. But Brookwell hit it hard just right at Doyle. And it brings up Ryan McCormick. And, Gigi, we talked about it. McCormick's one of those guys UMass Boston would like to see take a step forward here as a senior. Certainly capable of putting up big numbers after a big sophomore year, but struggled as a junior. Hitting, you saw there, 248 as a junior with 26 RBI and just 4 extra base hits, 3 doubles and a homer. Extra base hit right now would give the Beacons a tie, maybe a little bit more. First pitch to McCormick, dives out of the way, 1-0.
I think Brown's doing a great job of keeping Bristow a little bit distracted there. You see him bouncing around over there by second base, and that, for a pitcher, you never see that in softball really, but in baseball you got to be aware of your base runners, and that sometimes can affect a pitcher when he's trying to deal to the batter.
1-0, catches, no, again, that looked above the knee, and in a very nice spot, but the zone closing a little bit here from Frank Auditor in the fourth. 2-0, let's see if McCormick gets the green light for the junior first baseman, and he does, hits it right up the middle. Paulich was in a great position, bobbles it though, and he's just going to hold on. That's going to be a hit, and that was great defensive positioning from the Ducks, but the ball just hit too hard for Paulich to keep it in front and then get up in time.
I think also having a runner there, you saw that, especially coming off of a lefty's bat, it tails a little bit over to the left, and Paulich was placed perfectly there, but a little bit of extra spin on that ball there hit by McCormick. Wasn't really much he could do. At least he kept that down and kept it in the infield, because if that ball gets through the outfield, Brown is scoring easily.
I agree. We see the pitching coach come out for Stevens. It's not the head coach, Christoph Aldens. Not quite sure which one of his 7 assistant coaches this is going to be. They do have Danny Poidamani on the staff this year. We talked about Nick Herzog, the D3 position player of the year. Poidamani was their number 1 starter from a year ago. So if he's not the pitching coach, he's certainly working with the team's pitchers. So you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at UMass Beacons. Some rare adversity here for Stevens defensively. The Beacons did not have a base runner in the first 3 innings, but a single, a wild pitch, and an infield single, have 2 on with 1 out, and Gigi with the catcher up. Big thing here you want to avoid is hitting into an inning-ending double play. Cadiz is an athlete. He runs decently well, but he's not that fleet of foot. We'll see if the Beacons maybe bunt here or try something with small ball. The first pitch to Cadiz takes it up high. Nico struck out swinging to begin the second inning.
Well, McCormick stole 12 bases last year. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him going. Doesn't have the best speed on the team, but also doesn't have the worst. He's right in the middle there, and he could possibly take second, maybe put a little bit of pressure on the Stevens defense, see what kind of play that they're running into here.
1-0, big lead from McCormick. That's in there on the outside half, 1-1. McCormick started his career as a catcher, as a backup to Anthony Searles, but has also played out in left field, has been the first baseman for the second half of last year and the beginning this year, and we've even seen him at right field as the pickoff throw nearly gets away there from Kenny McGowan.
McCormick did not think that ball was coming there. You saw him react very late. Luckily for him, his lead wasn't that big there, but that could have really been trouble there for the Beacons.
1-1 with 2 on and 1 out, and Cadiz hits it soft on the left side. This should score a run, and especially with the bobble from the third baseman, it'll be a fielder's choice as Silos able to get McCormick at second base, but the Beacons scored their first run, and they've tied it up here in the fourth as Nico Kides gets the job done. On the 5-4 fielder's choice, Danny Brown, the leadoff single, comes in to score, and McCormick is eliminated. So it brings up Nick Cutraro here with a runner at first base and 2 down. Cutraro was one of the pleasant surprises of last season. The Beacons were looking for an everyday left fielder, and Cutraro in early April was given a chance and just absolutely knocked the cover off the baseball for most of April into May and even June, finishing the year hitting .333, 42 hits and 126 at-bats, 23 runs, 32 RBI, 6 doubles, 2 triples, and 2 home runs. 0-1, fouled off, 0-2. Kides over there at first base after the fielder's choice. And this is exactly what you want to see from UMass Boston. Second time through the lineup, especially going down 1-0 after that error, to tie this game right back up and show a little bit of life. 0-2 misses high and outside.
And even on that play there, Kides, that double play, or that potential double play ball, Kides doesn't have the best speed on this team. You saw him really trucking his way down there. I think that he even could have had a chance of throwing that ball over to second. The flip from the third baseman wasn't that strong. Maybe you could have had a look there.
1-2, swung on and missed, so Bristow gets out of the inning, ends up with his 5th strikeout of the game, but the Beacons tie it. Pair of singles and a fielder's choice tie the game at 1. We head to the 5th at 1-1 here at Mullen Park.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he should have had that. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Let's take a look at the fielder's choice that tied this game at 1. Gigi mentioned it. Chris Silos bobbles it a little bit. You see Kides trying to get it out quickly. Couldn't quite get it out. And then the underhand flip. And even the throw across is, I guess we didn't have that full part. It wasn't that far behind Kides. So the Beacons lead it. Or the Beacons tie it at 1-1. And it'll bring up Silos, the third baseman, the 8-hole hitter, who singled to right center, the first hit for either team, but was stranded at second base after a great diving catch by Danny Brown. Swings and misses at the first pitch he sees in this at-bat. Had a first pitch single his last time up. For Silos, who had been hitting a lot higher up in the lineup. In fact, hitting second for the last couple of games. Down to 8th today as the breaking ball in there for strike 2.
It's a great pitch there by Aruda. Really fooled Silos there. He wanted to swing at that, but might have not really gotten a good part of the barrel on that ball.
The 0-2 to Silos misses up high. Silos out of Bogota, New Jersey, 5'11", 195. Attended Hawthorne Christian Academy. Hitting .300 on the year, 6 for 20 with 2 runs, 4 RBI, a homer, 4 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Hits it softly up the middle. Chance for Zerilli here. Zerilli on a couple hops. And he'll get it over there just in time. And that's a nice confidence builder there for Gianni Zerilli, making his first collegiate start. Made the catch in shallow center earlier, but that's the first ball he's had to handle and throw across, and able to make that play, which isn't as easy as it would normally be with the temperature as cold as it is.
Yeah, and it was even a close play. Good job there by Silos to really run that out. Never know what might happen, especially in this cold weather. You know, your hands freeze up a little bit or even make a bad throw. And really did a good job of getting his body behind it, keeping the footwork really still and really great. And it was a little bit of a close play. a little closer than I thought it would actually be.
Brings up Brett Mendez, who put down a sacrifice bunt in his only plate appearance. Mendez, a sophomore out of Livingston, New Jersey. Second baseman, stands at 6 foot 165. Getting his first real playing time at Stevens. Just 6 plate appearances last year, 1 for 6 in 21 games, including 1 start. Swung on and missed that one. But as a senior at Livingston High School, he hit .425 with 28 stolen bases. So clearly someone who is used to being able to hit. This season, 4 for 17 in 6 starts, 2 runs, 3 RBI. Hits it down the third base line. Q will get another chance. We'll see that arm throw across, and McCormick can't make the scoop. And it'll keep Mendez at first as Brookwell follows it up. That is a tough play. Long throw from Q. Tough hop for McCormick. That's a difficult one to judge. And it's going to be an infield single there. Another difficult play for Q, and McCormick unable to quite hang on the high hop.
Yeah, it's a tough play there, and unlucky for Tom Q. He's got 2 balls right up that line, but that's something he's got to get used to. And whether that just means set your feet a little bit more. He's got such a cannon for an arm, but if that cannon's not accurate and he's not getting that throw, it's really not worth much there. But great job there by Steve Brookwell to narrow that down and keep Mendez over at first. He took that turn off first base there and realized that probably would have been a dead duck over at second if he tried to go.
So Stevens with a base runner for the 4th time in 5 innings. The only inning they didn't have a base runner was the second. Brings up Nathan Zuckerman for the 3rd time. So that's a high throw that McCormick handles. Zuckerman walked and stole a base in the 1st inning and flew out to right center in the 3rd. First pitch coming to Zuckerman. The catcher pulls it back with the bunt attempt, and it's 1-0. We have seen Stevens play a little bit more small ball than we're used to seeing. Zuckerman, who's described as a clear-cut leader on this side, very good defender who hasn't hit much his first 2 years, a career .205 hitter, 24 of 117, 2 doubles, 2 homers. But he does have a career .398 on base percentage. The throw is just a little bit late. Gigi, that is incredible. .205 batting average, .398 on base percentage means you're doing a lot right when it comes to your plate discipline.
Absolutely, and even, you got to have a good eye up there too, and that's exactly what he did. He saw him square around there, and if you're going to sack bunt, you're only going to bunt at strikes, and that's exactly what he did, was able to pull back, and, the runner, good job of them, to keep a look there, Mendez, and not take second. Oftentimes when you have a bunt play, sometimes the runner will just take off, assuming that the batter's going to get it down, and sometimes that can not be too great. He
takes off this time. Cody's throw, and it's a good one, but Mendez is in there anyway. Stevens is now 3 for 3 stealing against the Beacons, and Mendez, who had 2 career steals and 2 career attempts coming into the game, now 2 for 2 on the year, and there's a runner in scoring position for Zuckerman. You'd assume the bunt is off here at 1-1, and a chance for Stevens to take the lead right back. Got one update for you. The Beacons have Joey Rogers, who was supposed to split today's game with Aruda, warming out in the pen. Now, Rogers is notorious for taking a while to warm up. He knows his body extremely well, so this could be Aruda's inning. We might even see Aruda in the 6th with Rogers just getting ready. He was long tossing a little bit beforehand, and now it looks like he's actually in his more normal warm-ups. 2-1, and it's foul back 2-2. Rogers, a member of the UMass Boston Exercise and Health Science program, so it's not a surprise that he is very into knowing his own body, in addition to helping train some of the other student athletes on campus.
Great yoga instructor from the softball team. We'll say go to lift a couple of times, and Joey Rogers having his student internship with our strength and conditioning coach, Jeff Ebbs, and doing a great job of taking us through some yoga stretches.
Tyler Aruda, his 7th strikeout of the game. This one, strikeout swinging by Zuckerman, who goes down swinging and striking out for the first time. And it'll bring up A.J. Falconite, the all-conference honoree, who struck out looking the first and then thought he had an RBI, but Danny Brown made a diving effort in shallow center to rob Falconite with Silos on second. This time it's Mendez on second with 2 down. And Aruda will step off. Aruda, not really a power pitcher, not known for a ton of strikeouts, but has been very effective today. So we thought the pitchers might be the ones who would struggle, but instead it's been the batters. Can't imagine it's fun to hold cold aluminum in 30-degree temperatures, as that is maybe a little high for ball 1 to Falconite.
Reuter really relies on his spin pitches and his breaking balls, and you've seen him, especially with Auditor behind the plate there. He likes to call those low pitches. Haven't seen that many yet later on into this game, but if he can resort back to that and kind of get some of those breaking balls working in again, right at the knees, inside or outside, doesn't really matter. He's had some luck with that.
We've seen Auditor make a noticeable shift in his strike zone. Anything on the outside half, unless it's below the belt, is not a strike, as that one misses well wide, 3-0. This is a career high in strikeouts for Arruda. He had 5 strikeouts multiple times as a freshman and sophomore. Never hit 6. Already up to 7 here with 2 outs in the 5th inning. First base is open if Arruda can't retire Falconite here. 2 outs, a 3-0 count to Falconite, the team leader in RBI a year ago, and he taking all the way, takes one a little bit further inside here on the outside half for strike 1. Falconite on the year, 6 of 24, 3 runs, 2 doubles. Had been hitting leadoff, moves down to the 2-hole today, and another chance to drive in some runners here, and he'll take ball 4. That is Arruda's 3rd walk of the day. And it brings up Thomas Polish, the shortstop who was struck out looking, walked, stole a base, and scored on that error back in the 4th inning, and a chance to give Stevens the lead here in the 5th after they led 1-0 in the top of the 4th, but gave a run right back.
And we see Nick Herzog telling his outfielders to shift a little bit to their right, our left, and seeing if Polish seems like a pull hitter, according to the research that the Beacons coaching staff has done. So seeing really got to keep their eyes out in this left side of the infield here with Zerilli and Thomas Q, who don't have that much experience under their belt, and with a guy like Nicotaro out in left field, see if he can pull a ball here.
There's a check swing as Polish got caught in between. 1-1 to the junior out of Glen Cove, New York, who's running a 5-game hit streak, 3 multiple hit games during that stretch, including a 3-for-4 game against Drew, where he added an RBI. Polish a season ago finished 2nd on the team with his 24 RBI. Had 5 doubles and a pair of home runs. Hits it on the right side. Diving effort from Leung. Not going to get there. Stevens leads 2-1. And they're going to have runners at the corners with 2 outs. A nicely hit ball that sliced just far enough away from Ryan Leung. And Polish is now riding a 6-game hitting streak. And Stevens leads 2-1.
That's a nice slice ball right there. You saw him take it. You got to hit it wherever the pitch takes you. And might have been a little bit of an inside-out swing there, but Leung almost got it, with that runner there on second base. The Beacons in a little bit of a shift there with their infield. If Leung had played straight up, I think he would have been able to have a better chance at that ball.
Brings up Tom James, who was struck out looking and flown out to center. And Gigi, not a big deal to be down 2-1 here in the 5th, but you want to minimize the damage, especially for Arruda, who's given up 2 runs, 1 earned. You don't want him to end on a bad note here as Rogers continues to work. Actually, looks like he's settled down, probably ready at this point, with the expectation he's probably taking over for the final 4 innings. So if Arruda maybe struggles here with James, you maybe go to Rogers, the senior lefty. Hit it hard out to right center. Long run for Brookwell, and he's not going to get there. Stevens is going to add at least 1 run as the runner falls down at first base, and Leung will throw it to second, but Stevens is going to tack on another run as Falconite scores on the should have been an extra base hit. Actually, 2 runs there. And it is 4-1 in favor of Stevens. 3 runs here with 2 outs.
Unfortunate there for James. Definitely could have had a double, depending on the speed, maybe even a triple there. Hit that ball really, really hard. There was no chance Brookwell could have had a beat on it. At that point, you just got to tip your hat there. But unlucky there for James, tripping right over first base.
So a 2-run single from Tom James. And Gigi, a lot of this damage has been done with 2 outs, and realistically, the Beacons could have been out of this inning if Tom Q and Ryan McCormick could have just connected a little bit better earlier on. We ruled it a single. I think it still is a single, but it's one of those plays where the Beacons would love to have back, because instead of having 2 outs and no one on, The 2-out walk followed by the RBI single and now the 2-run single has given Stevens a 4-1 lead in this first ever matchup between these two teams.
You know, even though Aruta's struggling a little bit here, you know, you got to wonder for the Ducks how Leo Bristow's doing. You know, a little bit of a longer inning. We've seen a pretty fast-paced game through the first 5 innings, or 4.5, 5 innings so far. That, you know, sitting in the dugout for 10, 15 minutes now. That could have an effect on him. We'll see if he even comes out for the 5th inning here for the Ducks.
2-0 here to Gannon Kenny McGowan, who clubs one behind us. McGowan has flown out to right and struck out swinging. Stevens with 1 run in the 4th, 3 more here, all with 2 outs in the 5th to take a 4-1 lead. Stevens with 4 runs, 5 hits, and no errors. The Beacons with 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 error. That one gets away from Kites. And no advancement from James, the DH. 3-1 here, and Aruda has really struggled to get this third out of the frame.
I'm surprised there that James didn't go. Maybe didn't get the best read there on that ball. Kitey's doing a good job of getting to it, but typically you see, you know, ball in the dirt, if it gets away from the catcher, you got to take off.
3-1 fouled back, 3-2 here, so James should be off at this point. Stevens capitalizing with 2 outs. Walk, RBI single, 2-run single to the wall and right. And that has been the difference right now. 3-2 misses low. The 4th straight batter to reach with 2 outs. And I've already seen Fred DeFrance come out and talk to Aruda. What point do you maybe pull Aruda? I don't think you're worried as much about pitch count. It's just effectiveness at this point.
I think at this point, if Joey Rogers is ready, you know, you give up Sutton Dole here, and I think that's when you make the switch.
Sutton Dole has struck out swinging and reached on an infield single, and that was the play where Q threw it away and it allowed the first run of the game to score back in the 4th. Again, Finnegan's a lefty, the batter who's on deck, so that could be a chance for UMass Boston to get a lefty-lefty matchup. As Ruda's 1-0 with 2 on and 2 outs. Swung through on the breaking ball outside, 1-1. Aruda's had a good day. 4 runs now, 3 earned. The 7 strikeouts, but just has not been able to get this final out of the top of the 5th.
On the bright side here, if you're the Beacons, you see Thomas Q struggled a little bit with the first 2 balls hit to him. You got a 1st and 2nd situation. He can easily step on 3rd base and get that easy out there where you got to force play at any bag and really takes away forcing him to have to make that throw all the way to 1st.
1-2 now. Certainly those are balls where Eddie Riley, who has just as good of an arm, if not better than Q, the Beacons expected him, a Gold Glove caliber 3rd baseman, to make a year ago. As that catches the outside corner, and Aruda, whose day is likely is done, finishes with a career-high 8 strikeouts, but the damage done. 3 runs, all with 2 outs in the top of the 5th. It's 4-1 Stevens after 4.5. Nick Palma, the Beacons' designated hitter and 6-hole hitter, steps up for the second time today. Struck out swinging to end the second inning. Takes it inside. The Beacons did not have a base runner until the fourth inning when they recorded a pair of singles and then scored a run on a fielder's choice, looking to add some more against Leo Bristow, who misses way outside. One of the few pitches that Bristow really didn't have any kind of control on. And Gigi, you mentioned it, these long half innings can cause pitchers some real problems. It'll be interesting to see how Bristow responds as he faces off against 6, 7, 8 here for the Beacons.
I think this will definitely be his biggest challenge that he's faced thus far. You know, situationally speaking, hasn't really had to deal with much except for that one inning where the Beacons did score a run. But I think this is, a bigger mental battle here with himself, and, he's got to find a way to get through this.
4-pitch walk to Nick Palma to start the inning. That is the first walk that Bristow has issued. And we're going to see Stevens switch the gloves on their catcher, which you don't see very often. I think they maybe had the traditional catcher's glove out of the bullpen there. I don't quite know what was going on, but either way, Zuckerman has the correct glove, and it brings up Thomas Q, who grounded out to the shortstop his first time up. Palma, not a big threat to steal. Not one of the fastest guys on the Beacons. We'll see if down by 3, don't think the Beacons will play as much small ball as Q takes the first pitch in there for strike 1.
When you issue, a 4-pitch walk to Nick Palma, if you're Thomas Q, you got a smart idea there, taking that first pitch, seeing if you can maybe put a little bit more pressure on the pitcher and kind of force them to have to drill you in the zone.
Q, who was the backup shortstop and third baseman in the NCAA tournament where they cut the roster size to 25, didn't play during the postseason. Sophomore out of Shrewsbury, Mass., 6 foot 185. All-league honoree in baseball at Shrewsbury High School. The 0-1 nearly catches it. What a breaking ball as it cuts back on the inside half. That is one of the best breaking balls we've seen today. Gigi, you didn't like the call, but that one, we saw Q bail out, and the ball came back in, and if it didn't catch the corner, it came awfully close.
It did, and you saw Q turned on that pitch easily there as you just see him do it again right there. Thought that was going to be an inside pitch. To me, I kind of even thought that it was going to clip a piece of his shirt there, but it didn't. A great breaking ball there by Bristow.
Q as a freshman, 14 appearances, most as a defensive replacement, 1 for 5 with 3 runs scored. No RBI, a strikeout, 2 for 2 on the base pass. Did not play the final 22 games of the season, but he was in uniform for all of those games. And actually appeared in last year's season opener as a pinch runner as he takes strike 3 on the outside half. So another strikeout for Bristow. He's up to 6. And it'll bring up the freshman Zerilli, who struck out swinging on a breaking ball his first time up back in the third inning. Zerilli, the freshman out of South Glastonbury, Connecticut, 5'11", 175. Already has a putout and an assist defensively to his name. Seeing Curtis Tyrone, a Suffolk University transfer, have battled at shortstop. Also seeing Q and Noah Motter battle at third base for that starting spot. So while this is the lineup today, we could see adjustments even on Monday as the Beacons trying to figure out some of those roles. That one misses out wide 1-1. The DH spot is another one that you could see a couple guys shuffle in and out. Kyle Penny has hit well during the preseason. It's also the team's backup catcher this season. Pitching is much more of a certainty for this Beacons team than their offense at this point, as the 1-1 is hit out through the left side. Gianni Zerilli, his first collegiate hit, and the Beacons have 2 on with 1 out. Zerilli loops one through the hole on the left side.
That's a great at-bat there by Zerilli. Having his first collegiate at-bat be a strikeout for him to bounce back and drive that ball right through the 5-6 hole.
And Gigi, now, if you want to think of a little bit of small ball, Ryan Leung's got the speed to bunt for a hit. Plus, you bring up Danny Brown, one of your better power hitters, returning. Could be interesting. Palma at second, Zerilli at first, described as incredibly athletic, and Leung at the plate. Leung not showing bunt and takes another one of those great breaking balls that bends in on the inside half 0-1.
Yeah.
Stevens
to me, I think you got a little bit better speed on first than you do on second here for the Beacons. But even if Leung can drop a bunt down the first base side, that first baseman's really off the bag and off his line. He could potentially beat him in a race.
Ball gets away from the second baseman on the throw. This could actually, it could have scored Zerilli, and they're going to try to send Palma. The throw's going to be to third base, and what a break for UMass Boston. A pickoff throw that goes off the end of the glove of Brent Mendez not only scores one, but ends up putting the other runner at third. I thought Zerilli would easily have scored. Palma just chugged right through third base. A good send from Fred to France, and the Beacons have cut it to 4-2.
I mean, if you're Falconite out there in right field, you got to be a lot quicker to that ball. Granted, you're not really expecting that to happen. You're expecting your second baseman to make that play, and a little bit of miscommunication there between your second baseman and your pitcher. But to allow a runner to score all the way from second base, on a wild throw like that, your right fielder's got to get to that ball a little bit quicker.
The error will go on Mendez. It wasn't a bad throw from Bristow. It was certainly on the bag, just went off the end of his glove. And you're right, Falconite did not get there quickly. So 1-1 now with the runner at third. Leung trying to drive in the runner, and he fouls that one off. This is a huge, massive break for UMass Boston. You got the 9-hole hitter up. You not only score a run, then you push the other runner to third base. If the Beacons score here at 4-3, you feel very much in this contest, especially with the way that the Beacons feel about Joey Rogers, who's about to come into the game. The 1-2, Leung swings at a pitch in the turf, and the tag applied by Zuckerman. So the second strikeout of the inning from Bristow, and it'll come down to Danny Brown, just like we talked about. Brown a chance to cut this deficit to 1 after the big-time error there by the second baseman Mendez on the attempted pickoff throw.
I think this is a great situation for Brown to be in. He's already got a base hit through the right side in the fourth inning. See what he can do here. Stay hot a little bit, even drive that runner in from third base. And, Zerilli's got some great speed, and so does Brown.
And also, you've got to take into account the possibility of a wild pitch or a pass ball here with the runner at third base, and Zerilli having good speed. Brown struck out swinging to open the bottom of the first inning before leading off the fourth inning with a single through the right side. And he came in to score on that fielder's choice from Nico Kaides. It's 0-1 to Danny Brown. The Beacons' senior captain and center fielder out of the leadoff spot. Really interesting shift. The shortstop's behind the second base bag as that breaking ball misses. There's a big gap on the right side between the shortstop and the second baseman, who's a little bit farther towards the right field line than you'd expect, almost expecting Brown to pull. So the 1-1 bounces up there, 2-1 with Steve Brookwell, the junior transfer, on deck. Still looking for his first hit as a Beacon. So really, on third after his first collegiate hit. 2-1, Brown pulls it down the right field line, but foul. That one just missing the Beacons' new assistant coach. That is Brad Fogel, who mans the first base side. So that was Jamil Moquette's duty last season. 2-2, 2 outs. The Beacons trail 4-2. Already 3 runs in on the inning for Stevens. The Beacons with 1, looking to get a second. The 2-2 offering, and Brown will foul that one off down the left field side. Not a ton of wind today. Typically we're used to seeing the wind whipping, but the flags have just been lazily moving around out there in right center field. Now they immediately pick up. The 2-2, and Brown pops this one up. Should be playable. The pitcher is calling for it, and he is not. Ooh. Literally looked like it was going to go right over his head, and at the last second, Bristow able to catch the pop fly. The Beacons get one, but they strain a runner at third base with just 1 out. It's 4-2 Stevens through 5 innings.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, and UMass helped me.
Take a look here at that error there by Mendez. You see the throw there from Bristow, just right off the glove there of Mendez. But look at how long it takes for Falconite to get to that ball. I mean, the center fielder's pretty much there before he is, and there is absolutely no hesitation from assistant coach Fred DeFrance there to send Palma, and Zarrilli makes his way over there to third base. I mean, a little bit of a momentum shift there. Brown unable to get Zarrilli in from third base on a big pop-up that honestly could have turned into another whirlwind there if Bristow hadn't made that catch. And now we get Joey Rogers in here at the top of the 6th inning and see what he can do.
Joey Rogers, the senior lefty out of Dighton, Massachusetts, 5'10", 180, out of Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School for his career, making his 30th appearance and 7th appearance out of the pen. 8-3, 1 save, 130 career ratings, 4.02 ERA. 98 strikeouts to 55 walks, 130 hits, 70 runs, 58 earned. Was lights out as a freshman, 4-0 with a 3.12 ERA in 49 innings. As a sophomore, he saw his ERA balloon up to 4.66 in 56 innings, 11 starts, finished 3-2. Last year, though, dealt with some serious injuries. 10 appearances, 4 starts, 1-1, 1 save, a 4.32 ERA, and a career low 25 innings. But, Gigi, everything we've heard about Rogers during the preseason is that this is the Joey Rogers of old. He's got the command of his pitches. He feels more comfortable, and this would be a big addition. UMass Boston, their only real starting pitcher loss was Fernando Burgos, the all-time leader in career innings pitched and career wins. So it's a big loss. But they bring back Dylan Fashionboard, Tyler Aruda, Ben Gottesman, and if Rogers can come back, that is a very solid starting 4 for UMass Boston to begin the year.
Yeah, Rogers unfortunately dealing with that injury last year. Also spent some time in the outfield, and now he's been singled to, a PO. All he does is pitch now, and that sometimes is a little bit better, as a mindset. You don't really have to think about, am I going to be the outfielder, am I going to be pitching, and kind of having to change your pregame routine. But if the Beacons can get Rogers back to his, freshman year and even sophomore year healthy style, I think he's going to be a great addition to this pitching rotation.
1-1 here to Ryan Finnegan, who popped up to short to end the 2nd and struck out swinging to end the 4th. The center fielder faces Rogers for the first time, lefty versus lefty. There's that big breaking ball of Rogers that was so effective in the 2018 LAC tournament. Struck out 12 batters in 6 innings against UMass Dartmouth in the opening game of the LAC tournament. One of the Beacons' 3 consecutive LAC tournament wins, a new LAC program record. Finnegan flails and fouls that one off. Final line on Tyler Aruda. 5 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned. 8 strikeouts, a new career high versus 4 walks. Gave up 3 runs in the 5th. So all of the runs in this game. So that one's hit softly on the right side. Rogers is going to field it himself. Underhands it over to McCormick, and that's one of the advantages of having a former outfielder out there on the mound.
Yeah, very athletic pitcher. And not to say that the other pitchers aren't athletic, but just in a little bit of a different style there. Rogers very quick off the mound, and I think we're going to see a challenge play here.
Yeah, well, let's take a look. The only question would really be, maybe was there catcher interference?
And he's going to stay hitting.
Or did it hit the batter? It would be another possibility. Didn't see anything.
Sports Information Director Dave Wahlberg over here is saying that it hit the batter, so we're going to get
I think it's 1 and 2.
We'll get a chance to see Finnegan hit again, and he's got a 2-2 count on him.
Yeah, we can go back and take a look at that replay. The 2-2 bounces away, and that's a big break there for Stevens if they can get the leadoff batter on. 3-2 now. So Rogers has to do a little bit more work than he thought. 3-2 to Finnegan as Kristaps Aldens immediately came out and argued the call with Frank Auditor, and they overruled it. 3-2 is popped foul. Aldens has an impressive coaching resume, not only an assistant at MIT and Harvard, and now Stevens, so 3 very good academic institutions, but he holds dual citizenship with the U.S. and Latvia, and has actually not only played for the Latvian national team, but has also coached Latvia to some of their biggest wins in country history. 3-2, swung on and missed at the high fastball, and Rogers has his first strikeout, so able to get Finnegan one way or another. And let's take a look at that play and see if there's contact. and must have caught the inside of that lead foot. So, and you can see he not only was running gingerly up the field, but also was waiting for the dead ball call. The first pitch bounces up there to Chris Silos, the third baseman who had singled in the third inning and grounded out to short in the fifth. Nice job by our camera operator getting the clear contact. Two and 0 here to Silas, who's making his sixth consecutive start at third base after appearing in just 19 games, making 11 starts as a freshman. He's one of a number of players on this team who's had to step up, just like UMass Boston has players like Q and Leung. Stevens does a fun thing where they ask players to list some of their hobbies and some of the things they like to do. Silos lists collecting baseball gloves as his hobby off the field, which is interesting, but personally, I don't really know. I mean, are you showing people these? Are you displaying all these gloves?
Oh, I would definitely be showing them off. I mean, baseball gloves are not cheap.
2-2. Q shot over to McCormick, and he'll handle it himself. 3 unassisted.
Wonder if he's got a bunch of them with different colors. I've always wanted to have a flashy glove, but I've had the same glove that I've had since I started playing softball my sophomore year of high school. So
that's what happens when you don't have a
Jane.
growth spurt.
Yeah, that's true. You know, it's a black Wilson glove. It's done me pretty well so far. So I think we'll keep it. If it ain't broke, don't change it, right?
Brings up Brett Mendez, who had that costly error in the bottom of the fifth inning. Mendez put down a sac bunt and then reached on that single in the fifth, where Thomas Q had to range towards the third base line, and his throw skipped away from McCormick. Costly because that would have gotten the Beacons out of the inning. That would have been the second out. Ruda got the next batter, and then 4 consecutive batters reached to give Stevens that 4-1 lead. 2-0 on the outside half, 2-1. Also wonder if he's collecting professional players' gloves, stuff like that. I don't know. I always enjoy just taking care of my one glove. Not that I played baseball nearly as long as these guys have. 2-2. Rogers looking for just the second 1-2-3 inning for a Beacons pitcher. Haven't had one since the second inning. 2-2 coming from Rogers, and that's on the inside half. Pair of strikeouts for Rogers in the inning. We head to the bottom of the sixth. Let's see if the Beacons can score for a third consecutive innings. They trail 4-2 through 5.5.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
Got one change for Stevens before we get to the bottom of the sixth. Chris Davis, the freshman infielder out of Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania, checks in at third base. This is his second collegiate appearance. Started at third base in the season opener against Rutgers Newark and is playing now in his second game of the year. He replaces Silos in the 8th spot. So one crisp for another as Steve Brookwell leads off for UMass Boston, hits one out to left, and taking it on a hop is Sutton Doyle. So the first hit at UMass Boston for Steve Brookwell. And the Beacons have a leadoff base runner for the third consecutive inning here against Leo Bristow. 2-3-4 for UMass Boston to start the sixth inning. There is a little bit of movement out there in the Stevens bullpen, but no one throwing. A couple of guys on the long mans there. McCormick steps up, 1 for 2 rather. Flew out to center in the first inning, hit a sharply hit liner in the fourth that the shortstop Polish knocked down, but he couldn't field in time to throw him out. And then McCormick was erased on a fielder's choice. Throw over, and Brookwell is back in time. Brookwell had some success on the base pass last year at Rowan University at Gloucester. Finished the season with 8 stolen bases. Long wait for Bristol, the 1-0, and that one's in there, 1-1.
UMass Boston's had some success when they get a leadoff base runner on, and see if they can create some havoc on the base paths here. See if Brookwell can produce a little bit of speed here. Don't really know if he would send him. Haven't really tested the Ducks catchers.
Hit down the left field line. This should be extra bases. Going over is Doyle, and he'll cut it off, but Brookwell easily in there at third base. McCormick has a double, his first extra base hit of the season. Took him almost a month a year ago. Gets one on opening day today. He's 2 for 3, and the Beacons are in business. The tying run out at second base for Nico Kites.
And this is exactly what you want out of Ryan McCormick if you're coach Brendan Eigerboat. You know, you see him produce. You saw him had a great sophomore season, hitting-wise and even fielding-wise. And now you get a guy to produce in your 3 spot and see if your 4-hitter can clean him up.
Good speed on the base pass here for Nico Kites, who struck out swinging and then hit into a fielder's choice RBI to the third baseman in the 4th inning. So Kites a chance with the single here to likely tie the game. Beacons have scored a single run in the 4th and 5th, looking to get at least 2 here in the 6th with no outs and 2 runners in scoring position. 1-0 to Kites. That one catches him on the front hand, and the bases are full of Beacons for Nick Cutraro. And Kites, the catcher and former football player, took that one and happily jogged down to first base.
Yeah, get the blood flowing in a different way there. Now you're going to get hit, and your body's automatically going to open up all the vessels and send the blood to that one place. So, in a way that might help him.
Yeah, you can really never question a catcher's toughness. Between having to crouch for 18 innings on a Saturday to taking all those foul tips and the bouncing balls. The pitching coach comes out. Now it looks like someone is warming. The question is, are they going to be able to be up in time here potentially for this inning? It looks like someone in the teens. Really difficult to tell from this distance. I believe it's number 10. Michael Frisora, who's their number 1 starter. So maybe they're going with the assumption that Brierly, their other ace pitcher, will pitch tomorrow against Endicott. That is a afternoon start for Stevens at Endicott tomorrow up in Beverly, Mass. A noon start. But if Frisora's not pitching today, or at least not this week, maybe they're going to try to use him in relief today and then have him pitch on the 4th of March, which is Wednesday. They host Stockton College. So Frisora, who has been very good this year, is going to warm up, see if the Beacons can get to Bristow first. Bases full of Beacons, single, double, and hit by pitch with Nick Cutraro up and no outs.
I think that conversation over there on the mound was more of a, settle your pitcher down, realize your situation here, make sure you're not giving Cutraro.
Cutraro hits it up the middle. Coming in is Finnegan, and he's going to make a diving catch, tagging it third, and coming in to score is Brookwell, but McCormick was hoping he could come in, and he has to retreat to second. So the Beacons get 1 on the sacrifice fly, but that is a big-time play by Finnegan, and the Beacons cut it to 4-2 with 1 out.
And even though you give up the run there, that's a It's a good pitch by Bristow and a good way to, limit Cutraro to not getting a single or even an extra base hit there. And I think that's exactly what the coaching staff wants to do. And now you find a way to get at Nick Palma. And again, you don't want to give him a sweet pitch right down the middle. I mean, granted, you never do, but give him a good enough hit. Maybe just something could pop up or even a short dribbler that you can get even a double play here.
Brings up Nick Palma, who takes the first pitch. That's that outside but low pitch that's been given all day for strike one. Palma struck out swinging in the second and walked and scored on that error by the second baseman Mendez in the fifth. Big spot here for the Beacons, who left a runner on third with one out in the fifth inning down 2. Now it's 4-3. Chance to tie it here. Had the bases loaded. That throw comes in behind, and Paulich, that's a dangerous throw from Bristow, and fortunately Paulich able to keep it in front. We've already seen Stevens be unable to connect on one pickoff throw at second base. And realistically, that's not a big lead from Ryan McCormick. He's not going anywhere in that situation, especially with the shortstop right behind.
I genuinely thought that was going to hit McCormick's leg and even be a little bit worse than that play actually was.
0-1, and Palma swings and misses. Palma, 5 of 35 a year ago, 8 for 51 for his career, looking to come through with what would probably be the biggest hit of his collegiate career. 0 for 2. 0-2 right here. 0 for 1 on the day. Palma to be followed by Thomas Q. Not what you love in terms of where you are in the lineup. Curtis Tyrone, though, is in the on-deck circle for Q as a pinch hitter. The 0-2 to Palma takes it off the corner, 1-2. That one far enough off that Palma felt confident. The runner at second is McCormick, who hit the first extra base hit of the day for UMass Boston, a double down the left field line. The runner at first is Kides, who was hit by a pitch to load up the bases. The 1-2, Palma hits it softly on the right side, chance for 2. The throw from Paulich is in there in time. 4-6-3, inning-ending double play, and the Beacons get 1, but they leave a runner at third base. It's 4-3 through 6 frames here at UMass Boston.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
Taking a look at the rest of UMass Boston Athletics, the women's basketball team falling last night in the Little East Conference semifinals, 57-48. Cut the deficit to 3 with about a minute to go, but eventually lost by 9 to end their season. The lacrosse team off to a good start, already 1-0. They lead it in the second quarter up at New England College, and the women's indoor track and field team is at Middlebury College for the NCAA New England Regionals. Back here at Monin Park, UMass Boston 3, Stevens 4. Stevens with a big 3-run fifth inning, and the Beacons have chipped away at it in the bottom of the fifth and bottom of the sixth, but have left runners on, costly runners on. A runner at third with 1 out in the fifth, and then bases loaded in the sixth, and they get just 1. We head to the 7th inning. Joey Rogers on for a second inning of work. He'll face the top of the lineup for the first time. Zuckerman, Falconite, and Paulich. And it's ball 1 to Zuckerman, who has walked, stole a base, flown out to center, and struck out swinging. Beacons pitching staff with 10 strikeouts through 6 innings. 8 for Tyler Aruda, 2 more for Joey Rogers, who retired all 3 batters he faced in the 6th inning. Decent crowd despite the terrible conditions. Very, very cold here. And a bit windy as well as the 1-1 breaking ball hit softly over on the left side. Backhanded by a really long throw, and McCormick can't hold on. Third time today that the Beacons have not been able to connect on one of those throws. It's going to be an error on Zerilli, his first collegiate error. And a leadoff base runner for Stevens, who now have their fourth leadoff base runner of the day. First error on Zerilli, second error on the Beacons' left side of the infield. So it brings up Falconite, who has struck out, flown out, and walked. That one's a little bit, no, it's in there for a strike.
And McCormick is kind of a makeshift first baseman who was recruited as a catcher, spent some time in the outfield as well. His freshman season, he's not really a typical first baseman. UMass Boston hasn't had a true first baseman since Chris Fowler and the success that he had. And, sometimes with that, and you got a young left side of the infield there, and Zerilli and Thomas Q, got to work on that. And, even as a first baseman, work on some picks here and there. And hopefully it'll come later on in the season as well.
The 0-1 coming, and that one is a bit inside. Gigi, certainly, and you play shortstop for the softball team, a first baseman can either minimize some of those bad throws from the rest of the infield, or they can just make it a little bit harder. And we're not trying to harp on McCormick. I mean, it's not easy at a new position, but that was something Fowler did so well, especially on the turf here at Monin Park. It's a little bit easier to read the bounce that you're going to get. You see it every day, and seeing a couple of those. Now, the first one he had no chance, but that throw from Q back in the fifth inning, and then even that throw, they're throws that some first basemen are going to make, and sometimes McCormick's going to make them, just hasn't been able to come up with one here. McCormick will take it on a hop, looked at second, makes the smart play, goes to first himself, and there's one now with the runner on second here for Thomas Paulich.
Yeah, it was a good play there by McCormick, kind of gobbled that ball up, didn't really get a clean transfer there to the smart decision, and got the out at one, and now they got one down here. But, going back to your point, Seth, I think it also takes a little bit of pressure off of your fielders, having confidence in your first baseman. And again, not saying that the fielders don't have any confidence in McCormick, which I think that they do, but, when you have an excellent picker over at first, it takes a little bit of pressure off. You can kind of afford to make that bad of a throw and not have to think so hard about putting it on a dime.
Paulich hits it out to straightaway center. Brown is there tagging, and heading to third is Zuckerman. It's a good throw, but offline from Brown. And the runner moves up to third base with two down. Paulich is now 1 for 3, has scored twice and had an RBI single. Brings up Tom James, who had the big hit in the fifth inning, a 2-run RBI single, only because he tripped at first base. James easily could have had 2, maybe even 3. On the 2-out RBI hit. James on the day is 1 for 3, struck out looking, flew out to center, and then hit a ball out to the right field wall. Lefty on lefty matchup here with 2 down, and Zuckerman on third after the leadoff error. Takes the first pitch strike, and James looks at the umpire and just begrudgingly accepts that it's strike one. It has been a larger than 18-inch strike zone today, and I don't think either of the teams are going to argue that much, just because it's been pretty even, as that one is golfed maybe, out there to left, and it's going to fall in front of Nick Cutraro fair. And honestly, we've got to take a look at that replay, because I think Cutraro thought it was going foul, and that was a ball you can't let land in front of you.
It doesn't matter if that ball was going foul. You got to catch it. You're 2 feet away from it. At that point, put your glove out, your bare hand out. That's what it means, but you got to catch that ball. You saw Joey Rogers there kind of look at him and be like, hey, man, help me out here. It's 34 degrees out. He doesn't want to waste any more pitches and kind of wants to be able to go back into that dugout, put a jacket on, and relax for a little bit. Instead, now he has to face another pitcher, and not only that, but give up another run.
Swung on and missed. The throw down to second. Another stolen base for Stevens, who has been aggressive. That's James, who's into second base. And honestly, Gigi, when you look at the score right now, 5-3 in favor of Stevens, and Stevens has made some miscues of their own, UMass Boston has really put their pitchers in a tough spot with some of their defensive miscues today. Some of them have been ruled errors, some of them haven't, but there's 4, maybe even 5 plays that the Beacons would like back defensively, as Leung is forced to drive in front and makes the play there. But Stevens, another 2-out run and an unearned run and a run that never should have scored. Let's take a look at that RBI single by Tom James that pushed the lead back out to 2 here in the top of the 7th.
You're going to see this pitch here coming in from Joey Rogers, and I mean, that ball stays in the air for so long. You look at Q, everybody kind of stops and realizes that's Cotraro's ball, and he just looks at it and watches it fall, and at that point, I mean,
let's take one last look at this play. If we can replay it and see if Cotraro has an argument, obviously you've got to make this catch. Neither of us is going to argue that, but does this ball land fair?
Our instant replay. Maybe one more time if we could take that instant replay graphic out.
Yeah, and let's just slow it down. Let's slow it down right now, and let's take this frame by frame. You see, Cotraro kind of slows down right here, and then we zoom in, and this ball is going to land.
That's fair.
That's a fair ball right on the line.
I think at that point, you got to go after that ball. If that's hanging up in the air for so long, it doesn't matter. Even if that's going to be a foul ball, you got to lay your body out on that line and dive for it. You know, if it's going to be a foul ball, make that a highlight reel catch for yourself there. And, you know, worst comes to worst, it's that fair ball, and that's exactly what had happened there. I don't think he should have ever slowed up. Maybe he just got a bad read on that.
So we're going to have some substitutions. So we've got a change on the mound and at first base for Stevens. So they are going to go with, looks like Shea Bartnick is the new first baseman for Stevens. And we've already mentioned it. Stevens was going to go to their ace. It's going to bring up Michael Frisora. So Frisora, the ace, is in for Bristow, who pitched extremely well over his 6 frames. Bristow, 6 innings, just the 5 hits. Allowed 3 runs, 2 of them earned, and ended up walking 1 and striking out 7 in line for his first collegiate win. Frisora, who was named to the Empire 8 All-Tournament team last year, senior out of Fairhaven, New Jersey, 6'2", 177, actually a big Red Sox fan. His favorite player is Stephen Wright, the former knuckleballer. Reliever his first 3 seasons, 27 appearances, 1 start. This season has started both of his appearances, 0-0 with a 2.70 ERA, 10 innings, 13 strikeouts, a team high versus 5 walks. Has allowed a team high 11 hits, 6 runs, 3 earned, 1 double, 1 triple. Opponents have hit 282 against him. The Beacons are going to pinch hit for Thomas Q here. It's Curtis Tyrone, the former Suffolk University player who moves from downtown Boston to Dorchester. And it's quickly 1-0 to Tyrone, who now 1-1 to the left-handed shortstop, who's a junior, 5'10", 190 out of Waltham, Massachusetts. Frisora versus Tyrone. That breaking ball misses 2-1. Looking at the numbers on Tyrone from his final season at Suffolk. Thought I had those written down. And apparently I did not. So, had a decent year back in the 2017 season as a sophomore. Did not play during the last 2 years and is now member of the UMass Boston squad. 3-1 to Tyrone. The Beacons need base runners here. 7, 8, 9. 3-1. Big Mamo hack, and he swings through that. 3-2. One of a pair of junior transfers on the Beacons. We've seen Brookwell and Wright. Now Tyrone making his Beacons debut. 3-2 as Frisora looks for his first out of the day. 3-2 pitch, foul back. And Gigi, the benefit of bringing Frisora in relief is this is a guy who's used to coming out of the pen. All of his appearances his first 2 years and has had to step in as a starter this year after they graduated 2 of their top 3. But a guy who should be very comfortable in this role.
Yeah, even a different mindset that you get, you know, as a pitcher when you got to start versus, you know, coming out of the pen. You think differently when you got to go 5-6 innings versus going 1 or 2. And, you know, we'll see how long Frisora goes. He's, you know, got a little bit of, he's used to starting, so he could go a little bit longer. But, you know, you never know what could happen here. But that's a great mindset for him to come in, even though he gives up a leadoff walk.
We're going to see a very quick change. Tyrone to the bench. And now it's Ethan Herrera, the freshman outfielder out of Newington, Connecticut, 6 foot 180, will immediately pinch run. So you got a roster of 47. Why not use it? And Herrera is not going to play third base. I'm honestly not sure who will play third base because we haven't seen this Beacons roster yet.
Could potentially be Noah Mater.
It could be Noah Mater. Certainly not known for his speed, but Herrera is in there at first base as the Beacons have a leadoff base runner on for the 4th straight inning, and they've scored that leadoff base runner each of the past 3. A single run in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, down by 2 again. Gianni Zerilli, 1 for 2 with a strikeout, and a single through the left side. His last time up was stranded at third base with 1 out. Takes the first pitch in there for a strike. 0-1. So Tyrone gets the job done, works a full count walk, and Zerilli will get his 3rd trip to the plate, first against Frisora. 0-1, fouls that one off. Herrera, one of the more hyped Beacons freshmen. There are 15 of them on this year's team. 15 freshmen, 9 sophomores, 9 juniors, and 9 seniors. Very balanced group. Graduated from Newington High School in 2019, where he was a 2-time all-conference selection. As Zerilli watches that one bounce up there, and a great job by Zuckerman to keep it in front.
Also helps when you have a great catcher behind the plate, can really hop, and you put in a pinch runner. You're expecting that Herrera's got some speed on him. Wondering if he's ever going to steal second, and that's a great play there by Zuckerman to keep that ball in front and keep that runner at first instead of putting a runner in scoring position with a guy who's already got a base hit here today.
Throw over to first, bounces over there, and a good pick from the new first baseman. That's Shea Bartnick just into the game. Bartnick is a senior out of Brockport, New York, 6 foot 230. This is not a small Stevens team. A lot of guys 6 foot or above. 1-2 coming to Zerilli, and he pops it up foul. We'll get over the backstop, and we'll do it again. Another big spot for Zerilli. Who helped as part of that 5th inning rally when the Beacons got a single run. Bartnick over there at first base is making his 6th appearance. It's floated out to shallow center. Finnegan is calling for it, fights the wind, and makes the play for out number 1 here in the bottom of the 7th. Brings up Ryan Leung, still looking for his first hit. Popped up to the catcher and struck out looking back in the 5th.
The second baseman, number 2, Ryan Leung.
Leung, despite his smaller stature, 5'8", 155, did have 3 extra base hits as a freshman, a pair of doubles and a triple, and he pops it up again. Back-to-back pop-ups. This should be an easy play for the new third baseman, who is, I never wrote him down, but that's Chris Davis. We're seeing lots of changes here for Stevens.
You saw him there. He just kind of handcuffed Leung there a little bit, came on that inside pitch, and not much Ryan could do, except for lay off of that maybe. You're so early on in that count, you can afford to take that strike there. If that was a 2-strike count, maybe a little bit of a different scenario, but I'd like to see a little bit more patience out of Ryan Leung.
Throw over to first, and Herrera's not going anywhere. Danny Brown, 1 for 3 today, struck out swinging the first, singled to lead off the 4th and scored, and then came up with a runner at 3rd and 2 outs in the 5th, just like he's here, although the runner's only at first base, and popped up to the pitcher on a great play by Bristow as the ball almost ended up over his head. This is a big spot for UMass Boston. It feels like the Beacons have really shot themselves in the foot a couple times defensively, left some runners on offensively, and with Frisora up, you're not going to get many chances. As that pitch misses high, 2-0. It could be the final time that we see this Beacons top to middle of the order. When you look at it, 1 through 5 has a lot of experience, with Brookwell playing a lot last season. Bottom of the order, not as much experience, not as much pop. It's essential that the Beacons do something during these next couple batters. 2-0 to Brown, floats just wide. 3-0 here. Have not seen Herrera move off first.
Saw Zuckerman try to really frame that pitch there, maybe help his pitcher out a little bit here, but Auditor keeping his strike zone relatively consistent throughout this game. Maybe changed it a little bit from a lower to a much higher strike zone after the first 2 innings.
4-pitch walk to Brown, the second of the inning for Frisora, who came on to start the bottom of the seventh, and brings up Brookwell. Brookwell has grounded out to short, line out to left, and then he had a leadoff single and scored back in the sixth inning on the sacrifice fly from Catraro. And you just look at some of these at-bats for UMass Boston. That Nick Palma 4-6-3 double play was a killer in the sixth. The Leung strikeout and the Brown pop up to the pitcher with a runner on third, and the fifth, that was tough. I mean, the Beacons, they certainly don't look to be in midseason form, which can't be surprised. As Herrera almost caught off second base there. A good move from Frisora. Fortunately, second baseman Mendez a little bit late to cover. It's got to be expected with this being game one for UMass Boston, but a little bit frustrating to watch because this game certainly could have a slightly different scoreline if not for some of those miscues.
Yeah, and even the play by Nick Catraro over there letting a run score. I mean, a 5-3 game and a 4-3 game are completely different, and when you're struggling to...
That one ends up behind Brookwell, and it'll advance both runners up on the wild pitch.
Well, when you're trying to, score runners, and you've only scored one run in the past 3 innings, it's not like you're getting those multiple...
There's no crooked numbers on the board for UMass Boston.
Exactly. You're not scoring multiple runs in one inning, so you're kind of fighting to get a run every single inning, and you give that one up, it kind of puts you in a setback. You're getting right back into that groove. You're scoring a run little by little by little. Then you make that defensive miscue there, and it kind of puts you 2 steps back. You take 1 forward and then 2 steps back. But I think that hitting-wise, the Beacons just need to take more advantage of their opportunities. You can't keep leaving players out there on the base paths, especially in a scenario like this. I mean, you got an experienced guy in Brookwell, maybe not here at UMass Boston, but in his baseball career, stepping up to the plate. You got runners on second and third. You got to score at least 1 run here in this at-bat. And if not, McCormick needs to come up big and do something there.
You want to extend the inning. I mean, McCormick has looked very good at the plate, already with 2 hits and an extra base hit. If Brookwell can just reach in any way, doesn't even have to score one of these runs. If you can extend this inning, you feel confident. But the Beacons, they need that clutch hit, and they also need to get some defensive clean innings. Rogers and Aruda have pitched well today. It's been the defense behind them that has cost them some runs. 2 of the runs are unearned, but realistically, all 5 of those runs with slightly better defense could be wiped off the board if UMass Boston was playing as well as we're used to see them play defensively.
It looks like we have a new pitcher coming in here. It's number 22, Alex Smith.
Smith has been their most reliable reliever this season and was an all-conference first-team Empire 8 player a season ago. So for Frisora, it doesn't last long in his first relief appearance this season. 2/3 of an inning, no hits, thus far no runs, 2 walks, no strikeouts. We'll see if he's charged with a run as Alex Smith, who has been just lights out the last 2 years, comes on. The junior out of Wall, New Jersey, 6'4", 170. His dad, Wallace, ran track and field at Lafayette College. As a sophomore, led the team with 17 appearances, 2-1 with a 2.59 ERA, 31 1/3 innings, 2 saves. And this season, he's been their closer, making his 5th appearance, 1-0 with a 2.25 ERA, 8 innings pitched, 12 strikeouts, good for second on the team, 5 walks, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned. Opponents have hit 185 against him, earned saves in each of the team's first 2 wins of the year. His last time out, though, blew the save against William Patterson last Saturday. 2 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned, 3 strikeouts, and a walk. And we'll see if he can avoid blowing the save today. Not sure if he'll stay in for the entire game, but if he can score 2 runs, it's a blown save nonetheless. Beacons have Herrera at third and Brown at second. Great speed on the base pass for Steve Brookwell, who is 1 for 3 on the day and ahead in the count 2-0. Brookwell, in his 3rd school in 3 years, looking to come up big, and this is Beacon's debut. 2-0-2, Brookwell misses wide, 3-0. Now first base is open, but then you bring up Ryan McCormick, who has flown out to center. A hard-hit line drive infield single, and then a double down the left field line his last time up. McCormick's seeing the ball very well.
Yeah, I wouldn't really opt to walk Brookwell. You get that 3-1 count there. You got to see the work that he's going to put in here. You know, the double play is off, so you're only going to work with one out here, and you can afford to give up a sac fly. And
well, no, there's 2 outs, Gigi, so this is do or die right now if you're UMass Boston.
oh, look at that. And maybe that little break there was a little too much for me.
3-1 pitch here to Brookwell. And he takes it low. The first time that 3-0 pitch he was taking all the way, that time he was looking for a pitch in a spot. He thought it was low, and now it's 3-2.
On a 3-1 count, you know, you're thinking to yourself, make him throw you a perfect pitch, you know, and if Brookwell didn't like that, you got to trust yourself on 3-2 count.
3-2, cue shot over to the third baseman. That's Chris Davis to throw across, and holding the bag over at first is Shea Bartnick, and the Beacons leave 2 more. They've left 5 over the last 3 innings. And again, UMass Boston just not executing in these big situations the way they would like to. We head to the 8th. The 14th ranked team in the country, UMass Boston, trails 5-3 to Stevens Institute of Technology.
Cheer for the stumbles. That he should have had that. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
One change for UMass Boston as the ball's hit up the middle. Leung ranges to throw across, and it's in time to replace Sutton Dole, who swings at the first pitch here of the top of the 8th inning. One change for UMass Boston defensively. Noah Motter, who has been fighting with Thomas Q all preseason for that starting third base spot, comes on after the Beacons pinch hit for Q, and then they pinch ran for Curtis Tyrone. So Motter replaces Ethan Herrera, the junior third baseman out of Austin, Texas, who will likely earn his first collegiate start somewhere in these next couple of games, whether it's Monday against Suffolk or against MIT. He'll certainly be given his shot. Stands at 6 foot 185, making his 8th collegiate appearance. Still looking for that first collegiate hit out of Vandergrift High School. Ryan Finnegan is the batter, 0 for 3 today with a pair of strikeouts and a pop-up to short. 1-1 with 1 out here to Finnegan. And he takes it a little bit low, 2-1.
Rogers has done a good job coming out of the bullpen here, working through his 2 quick innings. And he's muscling through. He's doing a great job pitching, and Aruda as well. You know, if the Beacons can put together a strong defensive show here, it's definitely going to give their offense a little bit more confidence as well.
Rogers has allowed 1 run. It was unearned back in the 7th after a error on the leadoff batter. Zuckerman came in to score on that ball that landed just in front of Cotraro in left. 3-1 hit out to right center. Brown coming in on it hard. He's going to call off Brookwell and makes the play. Realistically, Gigi, the pitching has not been the issue in this game. 5 runs, just 3 of them earned, and in every scoring inning today for Stevens, you look at it and the Beacons either have committed an error or they haven't been able to make a defensive play that, at least in years past, when you had Eddie Riley and Charlie Hughey, you expected that to happen. And not to pick on the left side of the infield, but it's just been an adjustment period for these guys who are playing certainly in their first collegiate opening day, if not their first collegiate start.
That's the other thing, it's the first game of the season. It's the first time that these guys are playing with one another. I mean, you got a pretty young infield for the most part. The veteran players, Ryan McCormick over there at first base is a senior. You got
who's playing out of position.
Exactly, and you got a sophomore catcher, a sophomore second baseman, sophomore third baseman, whether it's Noah Mater or Thomas Q, he's actually a junior, so a little bit more experience there when you put Mater at third, but with the freshman shortstop, all it takes is a little bit more communication and kind of, settling into your position.
1-2 here with 2 down to Chris Davis, who hits it hard up the middle. Zerilli has tons of time, snags it, throws it across. Third 1-2-3 inning of the day for Beacons pitchers, including the second and 3 innings for Rogers. We head to the bottom of the 8th. The Beacons have 6 outs to score at least 2 runs. They'll have 3, 4, 5 coming up against Alex Smith here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Cheer for the stumbles. That he should have had that. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Take a look ahead for UMass Boston. 3 more games while they're still in New England before they head down to Florida, where they play a very impressive schedule that includes multiple teams out of the New Jersey Athletic Conference and I think 4 teams who played in last year's NCAA tournament. The Beacons will host Suffolk on Monday at 2:30 p.m., a team that was picked as the Great Northeast Athletic Conference preseason favorites. Then they take on 2019 NEWMAC champion MIT on Thursday at 3, before welcoming back former hitting and catching coach Sean Callahan next Monday at 3 p.m. in their final game before Florida. So Beacons are going to play 4 games in this weather, and honestly, it's going to get a little bit warmer next week, but it's certainly not going to be what you'd call balmy here in New England. Beacons will go 3, 4, 5, McCormick, Kides, and Catraro here against Alex Smith, who came on with 2 outs and runners at second and third and was able to retire Steve Brookwell on a 5-3 putout. McCormick quickly behind 0-2 as he looks to give the Beacons a leadoff base runner. UMass Boston scored with the leadoff base runner in 3 of their 4 innings where they've had the leadoff base runner. Have not scored without one. 0-2, and that one bounces up there 1-2.
If you're McCormick here, and Coach Agabot really preaches this, your mindset as a hitter is always yes, 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 no. And when you got a 1-2 count here, you got to protect your plate a little bit and kind of puts him in an uncomfortable position here you have to be able to protect like that. And unfortunately he can, and Smith picks up a strikeout for himself.
Smith, his first strikeout of the game, 8th all the day for Stevens pitching. And JG, this is tough because UMass Boston puts themselves in a position where they've got to score 2 runs against an all-conference pitcher, and Smith has gone multiple innings in 3 of his first 4 appearances. You got to expect this is his game to close unless he runs into problems. He gets Kides to swing and miss at the first pitch. Kides has struck out swinging, reached on a fielder's choice and RBI fielder's choice in the 4th, and then was hit by a pitch back in the 6th.
Not only that, but you got the middle to the bottom of the order for the Beacons here facing an all-conference pitcher for Stevens, so puts a little bit more pressure on the guys at the bottom of the order to be able to produce coming up here in the bottom of the 9th and even here in the bottom of the 8th.
Beautiful curveball that just drops in there on the inside half, 1-2, as Smith has looked really good since coming on for Frisora, who struggled with his control out of the pen. The 1-2 just misses outside with a fastball, 2-2. Kides would know the zone pretty well as the Beacons starting catcher. getting a start in the cleanup spot on opening day after hitting 8th for much of last season. 2-2, 1 out, bottom 8th. And Kaides hits it out on the left side, just past the running Pollock. That wasn't hit hard, but hit just far enough away from the shortstop. And Kaides has his first hit of the day. And the Beacons have a base runner here in the 8th for Nick Cutraro.
That's a good way to get yourself on base there and kind of battle through. You got a guy in Kaides who was hit by a pitch in the 6th, then had a fielder's choice in the 4th, and even a strikeout in his first at-bat here of the 2020 season in the 2nd. Great way for him to get on base and see what the Beacons can do here. Now you're looking at Nick Cutraro, seeing if, that defensive miscue for him out in left field, if he, sees if he can redeem himself up at the plate here.
Cutraro has flown out to left, struck out swinging to end the 4th inning when the Beacons had a runner at first base, and then hit a sacrifice fly to shallow center that it was a great diving effort by Ryan Finnegan to rob Cutraro of a hit with the bases loaded. 1-0. And it's hit hard past the first baseman. This should put runners on first and third. Charging in his Falconite, who's got that heavy winter mask on. And Cutraro has his first hit. The Beacons with back-to-back hits. Runners at first and third, down by 2. And I think we're going to see another pinch hitter, and it'll be the freshman Chris Duco out of Dedham, Mass. Attended Zavarian Brothers. So he should be familiar with this Monin Park after playing at BC High's rival, Boston College High School, the high school team that shares this field with UMass Boston. Ironically enough, one of Duco's biggest hits in high school was against BC High, but not at Monin Park, the Fenway Park replica, but actually at Fenway Park. He hit a game-winning hit as a junior against BC High. So the Beacons are going to replace Cutraro at first base with Danny Colazzo, typically a defensive replacement / pinch hitter in left. That's what we saw for Colazzo most of his sophomore season. And Colazzo will make his sophomore debut. He and Kaides, both out of Stamford, Connecticut, were high school teammates at Stamford High School. Big spot for Duco, the freshman, who's going to factor in the outfield one way or another, whether it's as a pinch hitter or as a defensive replacement. Was a baseball, soccer, and wrestler at Zavarian Brothers, as well as an indoor track and field athlete. That one bounces up there. Taking off for second is Colazzo, and he is in there on the wild pitch.
It's a good read there by Danny Colazzo to take advantage. Zuckerman tried to keep that ball in front. You saw him there try to make that throw over to second base, but when you got a runner over at third, you got to be more cautious of Kaides at third than you do with Colazzo taking second base there. But now that puts a little bit more pressure on Smith's shoulders here. You got one out, runners on second and third, and just a little base hit could potentially score 2 runs, and it's a tie game.
Duco hitting in the 6th hole, replacing Nick Palm of the DH, who finished 0 for 2 with a walk. Duco, a swing that just barely got a piece of that. In his high school career, he had the game-winning RBI single last year to eliminate defending state champions Needham High School in the D1 state tournament. Had that big game-winning hit as a junior at Fenway Park. 2-1 with 1 out here to Duco. With 2 on in scoring position here, it should tie the game as the Beacons have trailed ever since a 3-run top of the 5th. That one bounces up there, and another nice stop. Talk about Zuckerman today. He's really had to work hard behind the plate and keeping those balls in front. Has let one ball get back to the stop. That was a wild pitch, but you easily have seen him keep another 4, 5, 6 balls in front on balls with runners in scoring position. 3-1 here to Duco. First base is open. Hits it hard, but foul. The count runs to 3-2 for Smith, who has struck out 1 batter, has not issued a walk to the first 4 batters he's faced. In the on-deck circle is Noah Motter, who's the 4th player to have filled in that 7 spot for UMass Boston. Smith looks in. The 3-2. Duco hits it up the middle. This should score a run. And it gets past Pollich. Colazzo's going to take off for third. He will not score, but the Beacons take the lead and just waiting on the official scoring announcement. It's going to be an error. It realistically looked like it should have been caught, but Polic all of a sudden unable to make the play, and that's key, Gigi, because instead of being down 5-4 with runners at first and second, it's 5-4, only one out, runners at first and third, and that's a huge miscue there by Polic.
Yeah, I think he kind of thought that was a little bit easier of a play than it was going to be, and especially when you're playing on turf, you're getting that true bounce there, and he just misplayed it. We're going to take a look at the replay here in just a second. Duco gets a good hard hit on that ball, and look at that just goes right through it, and you see him, he's just standing there looking at his glove. I don't even think that he thought that was even possible of happening. When you trust yourself so much over there at short, you're used to making that play, and like you said, Seth, now you got a first and third situation, but good job by Chris Duco in a 3-2 situation coming up in your first at-bat here for the Beacons, and you're getting good hard contact.
Putting the ball in play. That would have scored the run either way. Kides was already past the midway point on the third base line there. He would have scored. The question was about Collazo. It brings up Noah Mater, who for his career is 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts and a walk. But Gigi, this is a guy who I've heard from the coaching staff, who I've heard from Jeff Ebbs, the Beacons athletic performance coach, has worked incredibly hard. He's beefed up, worked on his athleticism. This is a chance for Mater to show it off right here. As Collazo shows that he's going to go, the throw down to second, and the throw is in time. Chris Duco is thrown out, and Brendan Eigerbolt immediately comes out, and we'll have to take a look at that replay. It looked like that was a bang-bang play. From first glance, I'd say Duco might have been safe, but we're going to have to take another look. Not surprised the Beacons went aggressive there, but a gun from Zuckerman, and this is a huge game-changing play. You're never going to overturn it, but let's take a look at the replay and see whether our base umpire, Alan Hole, got it right.
Well, I think what Alan Hole was thinking there is that tag was applied to the body and not the leg. So maybe it was a pop-up slide there. I think if he'd stayed down a little bit, it would have been more convincing that he was safe. Or if he wasn't, I thought he got in time. I thought his leg definitely got in, but nevertheless, a great throw there by Zuckerman.
So that could be a game-changing play as the Beacons now have 2 outs, and it's quickly 0-2 to Mater, who took strike 1 because the Beacons were open to put 2 on with 1 out. And now the Beacons have a quick one, needing Mater to come through with Collazo on third. The 0-2 breaking ball misses, and let's take a look at that stolen base attempt right now. So you see Duco, Collazo was faking it, and then the throw. This is a great throw, and I think he's in there.
I think so too.
1-2 as we've got time. Let's take a look if we can get that other angle, which we're not going to see it great until the ball gets there. And let's see. I mean, you can see Zuckerman throws it there, and Duco is...
No, his top leg never hits the base. I think that's what the umpire was calling him for there.
The 1-2 pitch, and that one misses wide.
You saw his bottom leg, his sliding leg that he was on might have hit the base, but got the tag right before that top leg. You got to lead with that leg and got to make that contact on the base there for that to be convincing. I'm thinking that that's what the field umpire saw.
2-2 coming from Smith to Mater as the Beacons look to tie it. That one bounces past the catcher. Coming home is Collazo, and the Beacons have tied it. Their first crooked number of the day, and it's 5-5 here as the Beacons use the wild pitch, a huge thorn in the Stevens side all season long, and the Beacons use an error and a wild pitch to tie it here. 5-5 with Noah Mater still at the plate in a 3-2 count.
That takes a lot of pressure off of Mater's shoulders here. Now he can really focus on putting this ball in play and trying to get himself on base rather than having to drive in that game-tying run.
3-2, hit right back to the pitcher. Should be an easy play for Smith, but the damage is done. A pair of wild pitches and an error in the inning ties the game at 5 as we head to the 9th.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris. The subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. It's one of those moments you never forget.
Brett Mendez is the leadoff hitter for Stevens, the 9-hole hitter here in the 9th. We have our first tie since it was 1-1 in the top of the 5th. Stevens with 5 runs on 6 hits and 2 errors. The Beacons with 5 runs on 7 hits and 2 errors. It has not been that clean of a game for either of these two teams. The Beacons scoring 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th to tie it. They had 2 singles with 1 out, then a wild pitch, an error by the shortstop, a caught stealing that cost the Beacons a chance to take the lead in that inning, although it was a bang-bang play, and then another wild pitch that tied it. For the Beacons, Danny Collazo stays out in left field, the pinch runner for Nick Cotraro. It's quickly 0-2 to Mendez as Joey Rogers is out for his 4th inning of work, and he's only allowed the 1 run. It was unearned. Ball hit softly up the middle to Leung. Leung has tons of time, and he'll throw out his second baseman counterpart, as Mendez is now 1 for 4 on the day with a single, a stolen base, and a run scored.
Quick work here by Joey Rogers, just really finding his rhythm and got his defense behind him there making the plays, and he's getting a lot of these runners, or a lot of these batters, I should say, to ground out and not really get good contact on that ball. And I think that's something that he's worked on really hard, and it's one of his great specialties.
Rogers is only at 43 pitches through 3 1/3 innings. 32 of those have been strikes now. Rogers facing the leadoff hitter Zuckerman for the second time today. Zuckerman is 0 for 3. Had a walk in the first inning, flew out to center in the 3rd, struck out swinging the 5th, reached on a Zerilli error in the 7th, and came in to score on that odd play where Nick Cotraro let the ball bounce in front of him with 2 outs. Zuckerman also had that big throw out on the caught stealing in the 8th inning, and I don't know where that pitch was, the breaking ball, and Zuckerman was just shaking his head in disbelief, but he still got life at 1-2.
I don't know how that wasn't called a strike there. I think Joey Rogers was wondering that too.
Ball sliced out to right, and there's a 1-out base runner as Zuckerman has his first hit of the day, and he's on base for A.J. Falconite, the second-team all-conference player, still looking for his first hit. Falconite has struck out swinging, flown out to center on a great diving effort from Danny Brown, walked and scored in the 5th, and grounded out to the first baseman in the 7th. Top of the 9th inning, tied at 5. Stevens with 1 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, and 1 in the 7th. The Beacons 1 in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and then 2 in the 8th. So we've got a timeout behind the plate from Frank Auditor. Falconite trying to extend his 5-game hitting streak, making his 7th start on the season. Swings and misses at the breaking ball inside. Looking at
beautiful pitch there by Joey. Sorry to interrupt you there, Seth, but that was a beauty.
Looking at Zuckerman over there at first base, 2 for 2 on the season in stolen bases. This is a team that does not run very frequently. Rogers will throw over, but they have been running all over UMass Boston. Thus far today, I have them at 3 of 3, actually make it 4 of 4 on the base pass. So it'll be interesting to see if Kristaps Aldens elects to run here with his catcher. The 0-1 is fouled off, and almost a great catch from Thomas Polich in the on-deck circle, trying to make it with his bare hand. Now, it would be interesting to do it with your catcher running over there at first base, especially with 2 of your better hitters, Falconite and Polich here. But they have been aggressive on this day. And one thing that Joey Rogers has struggled with in his career, despite being a lefty, is he doesn't hold runners on all that well, as the 0-2 is another breaking ball that's hit foul. Remember, Mater is over there at third base in place of Q. Colazzo's out there in left in place of Catraro. Those are the only changes the Beacons have made. For Stevens.
And I think in part to that of why Rogers can't really hold runners on that much is he relies so much on his breaking balls that ball's not getting to the plate fast enough. If you're a guy that heavily throws a lot of fastballs, that's getting to the plate a lot quicker. Shortens down that time, especially on bang-bang plays. You got a catcher like Kaides who has a great arm. If you're throwing a breaking ball, part of that is on runners, and even the coaching staff realizing, when you think a breaking ball is going to come, or even a changeup, and, you got to take off on that and make the most of it. Those split-second decisions, that's what really can make or break a game like this.
0-2 coming to Falconite, and that's a breaking ball that bounces up there. Actually, 2-2 now to the right fielder out of Marlborough, New Jersey. Falconite to be followed by Paulich. In the 5 spot, Shea Bartnick is in there for Gannon Kenny McGowan. And if we got there, the 8 spot, Chris Davis has replaced Chris Silos as the 2-2. Another breaking ball, 3-2 here. Rogers has not walked a batter. Does have 2 strikeouts. You really want to avoid a walk here after being ahead 0-2. The Beacons do not have anyone warming. Typically, in the past 4 years, this would be Bobby Tramadozzi time if you did bring on a third pitcher. But Beacons graduating not only their top starter, but their top closer, as that's on the outside corner. Falconite can't believe it. His second strikeout of the day. The third for Rogers, and the 11th for Beacons pitching. The combination of Aruda and Rogers, that was a big one. That's either 2 on with 1 out or a runner at first with 2 outs. A huge shift in this game, especially with 2 outs or in the top of the 9th inning now.
And I think Falconite, he partially swung at that. Wouldn't say partially swung, but he at least thought of it.
Clubbed out to shallow left. Colazzo coming in, and he's wisely going to take it on a hop. Keep the runner at second, as that ball got caught up in the jet stream and never fully made it out to Colazzo. It also looked like it might have been off the end of the bat. We can take a look at that called strike 3, as that's the 3rd time that Paulich has reached his 2nd hit of the day. He's had a nice day, as it'll bring up Tom James, who has 2 hits of his own. But it also looked like it was a little higher, but probably right around belt level, as Tom James sets up the DH, who has been really effective his last 2 at-bats, a 2-run single to the wall in the 5th, and an RBI single out just inside the left field line, as Rogers wanted to go in behind the runner at second base. That's Zuckerman, but Zerilli was late to cover, and Zerilli gives a pat on his chest, as if to say that was my mistake. James a chance for another game-winning hit. Already had the game-winning RBI single in the 8th inning in a 3-2 comeback win over New Jersey City University. It was one of their 5 home games to start the season, looking for their first road win after losing to number 24 Rowan 1-0 last weekend on Sunday. First pitch coming to James, and it's hit right back up the middle. Should be played by Zerilli. He'll step in front of the bag, throws across, and that is a big 3rd out here in the top of the 9th. The Beacons have a chance to take their first lead of the season and potentially walk it off here in the bottom of the 9th. UMass Boston will bring up 8-9-1 to start the bottom half of the inning.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, and UMass helped me.
We're going to take a look here at this Rogers strikeout on Falconite. Yeah, you see him, he kind of wanted that a little bit. And when you got 2 strikes on you there, you want to protect the plate and take a different angle look here as just how high that pitch actually is. That's right in the zone. I don't think that's a little high. If anything, maybe a little wide of why Falconite wouldn't swing at it. But I think that's a great pitch there by Joey Rogers and a great job by Nico Kaides to kind of frame that and just hold it there for a second that the umpire could take a look at it. I think that's worthy of swinging there if you're a Falconite.
Bottom of the 9th inning, UMass Boston scheduled to bring up Gianni Zerilli, Ryan Leung, and Danny Brown. Now, certainly you have some pinch hitters. Gigi, the team would know better than I who you have available. With already Curtis Tyrone being used, he's one of the backup shortstops, and Noah Mata, the backup third baseman. I'm not sure if they have another guy they trust if this game goes to a 10th inning at shortstop.
I think you let Zerilli hit. You let Zerilli hit, and then maybe make a change for Ryan Leung. Devin Slattery, give him an opportunity there at second base. He had a really good fall ball. You know, Coach Igerbro really likes the way he swings the bat. Maybe give him an opportunity to get a chance there. He can also play second. You know, when you got somebody who you got two really good defensive second basemen there, it's really on to who's going to produce at the plate. And although Leung hasn't had that many productive at-bats today, maybe you give somebody else a look there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. This inning really hinges on what Zerilli does. If Zerilli can get on, then you can bunt with Leung. You can do a lot of things trying to get to that combination. And there's a leadoff single, first pitch swinging, and Zerilli's got 2 hits in 4 at-bats today. And now UMass Boston has the game-winning run aboard here with a chance to potentially walk it off in their season opener and home opener. The Beacons have never lost in a home opener here at Monin Park. Now, it's only year 5, so that's a small sample size, but the Beacons looking on a day where things have not necessarily gone their way defensively or even at the plate, a chance to pull off a comeback victory. The throw over is caught over there by Bartnick, who's not quite as tall as Genn and Kenny McGowan. Smith in his 3rd inning of work, although he only had to get 1 out in the 7th. Leung shows bunt, pulls it back, and Zerilli, with no one covering, just kind of stood there at first base before the second baseman, Mendez, forced him back. Leung was a split starter at second base through the first 20 games last year, with Josh Lopez unavailable till the midpoint of the season. Split time with Ryan Collins, quickly 2-0.
Great plate discipline here, though, by Leung. I think everybody pretty much knows that he's going to sack bunt. He's made that pretty obvious, and you don't want to pop up on a bunt that's, you know, too high. You're really going to be swinging at strikes here. Great plate discipline by him to already take those 2 balls.
3 sack bunts as a freshman. Shows bunt, puts it down the right side. A beauty. Bartnick is going to apply the tag, and Ryan Leung gets the job done. The runner moves up to second, and Danny Brown, who had a game-winning walk-off hit in the opening game of the LEC tournament last year against UMass Dartmouth, has a chance here with a single to likely end this contest. And I think we're going to get an immediate intentional walk. You know what? I don't mind that at all. Yes, it puts 2 on, but that trail runner doesn't matter in this spot. It gives you a force out everywhere, and it gives you that righty-righty matchup.
Yeah, I would agree there. And then you test Brookwell. He's got a base hit over to left today, and then pretty much everything has been hit to the left side of the infield. You're looking to turn 2 here, even though you got a lot of speed with Brown over there at second or at first, I should say. And even Brookwell, see if you can try to turn a double play here and get yourself out of the inning.
Brookwell singled out to left field and scored in the 6th. Is 1 for 4 on the day. A ground out to short, a ground out to third, and a line out to left. This one gets away from the catcher, and it'll move both runners up. Zuckerman had no idea where that one was, and the Beacons have 2 runners in scoring position with 1 out. A ball to the outfield should likely win this game, as we're going to see Stevens forced to bring the outfield in, and now they're going to walk Brookwell, and it'll be Ryan McCormick, who has had an excellent day today with the chance to walk this one off for UMass Boston.
And now here we go. We're going to see what we're going to get here. And McCormick so far today, I mean, he's got 2 hits on the day already. Got struck out against Smith, though. So
he did strike out against Smith. 1 and 2, was forced to extend the zone. McCormick is flown out to center. An infield single to short. A double down the left field line and a strikeout. A chance as a senior to walk it off on opening day. First pitch is in there on the inside half, 0-1. The runner at third is Zerilli. The runner at second is Brown. The runner at first is Brookwell after a pair of intentional walks. The new thing in D3 baseball last season that saves us about, 45 seconds to a minute. Much appreciated on a cold day. 0-1 to McCormick, hit back to the pitcher. Smith will field, has to get it off and throws it in time. And it'll be up to Nico Kaides as McCormick didn't get good contact, And an easy play for Smith there as he's able to get the ball home before Zerilli could get there. Fielder's choice goes down as a 1-2. And it'll move Brown to third, who has tremendous speed. Brookwell to second, and McCormick to first. And Kites, who has reached twice on a hit-by-pitch, singled and scored the 8th. He's 1 for 3 today, and a chance for him to pick up the walk-off hit. As UMass Boston just looks for that one clutch hit today. They really haven't had it. They have left 5 runners on, including a couple with 2 outs. Left a runner on third with 1 out in the 5th inning, and now trying to avoid leaving the bases loaded with 1 out in the 9th. Kaide swings and clubs it foul. Good swing there, but way out in front, 1-1. UMass Boston just needs a run anyway. A wild pitch, an error, a hit by pitch, which Kaides has already taken, just trying to knock off this pesky Stevens team that has led for most of the day. Scored a run in the 4th. The Beacons answered back, but 3 in the 5th, and then a run in the 7th. They've led by as many as 3, and led by as many as 2 heading into the bottom of the 8th when the Beacons scored twice. Kites hits it softly down the third base line, and the count runs to 1-2.
And this is where Kites, you're at the 4 spot. Usually you're thinking, I got to bring, a couple of people in. In this scenario, you're just thinking as a natural hitter. Here, all you got to do is get your bat on the ball, see if you can poke it through a hole. You only need to score 1 run to walk off this game, and really shouldn't be focused on trying to hit one out of the park. If that happens, great. If you get an extra base hit, great as well, but all you need is a bat on the ball, get a single.
The 1-2 pitch to Kites misses outside, 2-2. Kites had 26 hits as a freshman and 24 RBI. Really looked like a different player during the College World Series. A very aggressive approach, came up with some big hits, looking for his second hit and second RBI of the day, trying to walk it off on opening day. 2-2, 2 outs. The bases are full of Beacons in the bottom of the 9th. 2-2 pitch, breaking ball, strike 3. We head to extras as Kites was fooled, and the Beacons leave the bases full with 1 out in the 9th. We go to the 10th. It's UMass Boston 5, Stevens 5 here at Monin Park.
The 5-campus UMass system is the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
Moving from Turkey, it was a rough journey for me because when you don't really speak the language that well and when you don't really fit in the crowd, it's very easy to disappear. But I decided not to give up, and UMass helped me.
Coming back here to the top of the 10th inning and extra innings, let's take a look at that strikeout there by Alex Smith on Nico Kites with the bases loaded. Just a beautiful breaking ball coming up here. It seems like it's going to hit him and just, wow, that's beautiful there. You see Zuckerman giving a little bit of emotion there too to support his pitcher. When you got bases loaded, bottom of the 9th, I mean, to dream for little kids, right? You tell a kid that he's going to step into the box and he's got bases loaded and a chance to walk it off for his team. It's a place that everybody loves to be in, but it's a little bit tougher when you're facing an all-conference pitcher like Alex Smith.
Stevens, who had 2 runners of their own on in the 9th inning before Tom James grounded out to short to end the frame, will bring up Shea Bartnick, Sutton Dole, and Ryan Finnegan, 5, 6, 7 here in the 10th inning. Joey Rogers is on for his 5th inning of relief work, but has allowed just 1 unearned run since he came on in the 6th inning. He's been really, really effective. When you look at Rogers, 1, 2, 3 innings in the 6th and 8th, gave up an error and a single in the 7th, and then a pair of singles in the 9th. Has allowed just 3 hits thus far in his 4 innings of work, and comes in with 56 pitches, 40 of them strikes. The 1-0 misses, and it's quickly 2-0 to Bartnick, the senior out of Brockport, New York, who was a starter as a freshman, making 39 starts. 19 games, 16 starts as a sophomore. Did not participate, according to the Stevens website as a junior. It moves to 3-0 this season, 1 for 4 with the strikeout and no walks, although he's out ahead 3-0 here on Rogers, who just had a long sit waiting for this game to potentially end. It's now 3-1.
Well, you also got to think, how far this game goes into extra innings here. You got to get a pitcher. I think the Beacons do already have somebody warming up in the pen, and how long you're going to throw Rogers' arm for.
3-1. I think this is definitely Rogers' inning, and then maybe you worry about pitch count this early in the season. But at 56 pitches, probably given at least 75 today, as the Beacons have what looks like a righty throwing. Again, this is Bobby Tramanozzi territory, but unfortunately he graduated, so we'll see who gets the chances. This is strike 3. It gets away from Kides, but Bartnick doesn't recognize it. Kides dives, and that is going to be strike 3 swinging, and I would honestly say a pass ball. Unfortunately from Kides, who couldn't come through, and there's some real frustration on the Beacon side. Brendan Eigerbrodt really upset with the fact that I think not only that Kides didn't grab it, but that no one was screaming at Kides to go get the ball. I think everyone thought it was a foul tip, and instead it's a pass ball, and we've got a pinch runner.
That's a great recognition. I mean, nobody knew. I mean, Bartnick didn't even realize it himself, and the only person screaming was Joey Rogers at Nico Kides saying, hey, you got to go grab that ball. And, with the big backstop here at Monin Park, it makes it a little bit simpler on a runner if you kind of realize that a little bit sooner. So, nevertheless, the Ducks get a base runner on and see what we can do here in the middle lineup.
Yeah, so Bartnick is going to be pinch run for Bartnick at first base, so they'll have to go to their third first baseman of the day, but they're happy to do so as Ambrose Console, the junior outfielder out of Long Valley, New Jersey, will pinch run at first. Probably better wheels than Bartnick, who did not look all that strong getting down there, but it was just in the deepest part of the backstop for Kides. Didn't have a chance to throw. Console making his 5th appearance, 0 for 2 this year with runs scored. A season ago made 11 appearances off the bench, 7 starts. 3 for 23 as the ball's hit over on the right side. Leung's only play is going to be to first, and he will retire Sutton Dole, but it does move Console up to second base, and that is the go-ahead run here in the 10th inning. And again, Gigi, when you talk about those mental mistakes, those opening day kinks that you have to work out, that's another one that could come back to really bite the Beacons.
Yeah, well, when you're playing at home and, you got a sophomore catcher back there, he's got some experience with his backstop. That's one of the things as a catcher you really got to, get yourself well known with how the backstop is. If it's a long backstop, if it's a short one, and that's something he just needs to have a better, realization of, and you really got to know the count there. I don't really know if he knew that there were 2 strikes on that play.
I think that both batter and hitter were convinced that it was a foul tip. Everybody stopped thinking it was a foul tip, and that home plate umpire Frank Auditor was just waiting for someone to do something. It's the 0-1 to Ryan Finnegan. It's on the outside corner. Sometimes Frank Auditor takes his time there throwing out the finger. 0-2. Finnegan has popped up to short, struck out swinging and flown out to center. Center fielder 0 for 4 thus far on the day. Runner at second is Console, the pinch runner. The 0-2 misses out wide. Rogers trying to get Finnegan to chase. Rogers now with 4 strikeouts. The Beacons pitching staff has 12 on the day. Not bad considering Aruda and Rogers, not really big-time strikeout pitchers. 1-2, breaking ball on strike 3. This time, clearly no tip, as that's the second strikeout of the inning, but only the second out of the inning due to that pass ball. And Rogers will have to get one more out here in the 10th. It's Chris Davis, who pinch hit for Chris Silos, I believe, in either the 6th or 8th inning. In the 8th inning, grounded out to short to end the 8th. So the 8th spot and the third baseman spot for Stevens is a combined 0 for 4. Davis on the season is 0 for 3. He comes from an athletic family. A lot of these Ducks do. His mother, Krista, played field hockey at Division I St. Joseph's University in Philly, and his sister, Kayla, plays soccer at D1 Columbia University. A lot of athletic families, a lot of very smart families, which is not a surprise because Stevens is generally viewed as one of the top engineering schools in the entire country. Probably a small step behind MIT, who the Beacons will see next week. But you're talking a small step. Kristaps Aldens would know better than most, as he's a former assistant at not only MIT but also Harvard here in the Massachusetts area before taking over at Stevens. 1-1 breaking ball. Conde does a great job to get over. 2-1. Console has yet to record a stolen base in his career. And speaking of athletic families, both of his parents went to Springfield College here in Mass. His mom played volleyball, and his father played baseball and basketball. The birthplace of basketball and volleyball, actually. Springfield College. 2-1 in there on the inside half. 2-2. Rogers looking to potentially strike out the side. Doesn't really care how he gets this third out, just that he does it before a run comes across. For the Beacons in the bottom of the 10th, it will be 5, 6, 7. None of those players started the game for UMass Boston in those spots, but the Beacons have adjusted trying to win this game. 2-2, swung on and missed. Rogers strikes out the side, all by way of the strikeout swinging. 6 strikeouts in 5 innings for Joey Rogers, just the 1 unearned run. The Beacons will see a new pitcher here in the bottom of the 10th as they look to come across with the game winner.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
Got a couple of changes for Stevens. They will move left fielder Sutton Doyle to first base, and pinch runner Ambrose Console stays in the game. He'll move to left field. The new pitcher is Anthony Prawn, who pitched extremely well in relief last week against Rowan as part of a 2-hitter between him and Chandler Brierly. Prawn on the season, take a look at his numbers. 1 appearance, 3 innings, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts against Rowan. Opponents hit just 100 against him. Unfortunately, they lost that game 1-0 because of a run that was scored on a wild pitch. The Beacons are going to make a change here to start the bottom of the 10th. Danny Colazzo, who came on as a defensive replacement in the 5 spot, will be replaced by Kyle Penny, the Beacons' backup catcher, who makes his first appearance of the season. Penny hits it over to the second baseman on a cue. Mendez will field, and the Beacons have 1 out here in the 10th inning. Brings up Chris Duco, who came on as a pinch hitter for Nick Palma back in the 8th, reached on an error and picked up an RBI that drove in Nico Kites to cut the deficit to 5-4, but was then thrown out on a caught stealing. The 1-1, breaking ball misses, 2-1. Duco, a player the Beacons are very high on, looking to just give the Beacons a base runner here in the 10th. They had the bases loaded with one out in the 9th as that one catches up high, 3-1.
Duco made some pretty good contact his first time up. Got that hard hit ball and ended up being an error on the shortstop, but put the ball in play and see what happens.
Duco fouls it back, 3-2. Former Zavarian Brothers player who is part of that Catholic Conference, rivals with Boston College High School, should be very familiar, although realistically all of these players from New England should be very familiar at least with the parameters of Fenway Park, if not playing on a similar field, as that misses outside, and Duco reaches again. Very good speed as well for the freshman. So see if the Beacons, who have already seen Duco be thrown out once because of that high slide, look to put him in motion here, as we are going to see. This is going to be Noah Motter, who came on in the 9th inning as a defensive replacement for Ethan Herrera. Motter takes that first one. Actually, Motter came up for the first time in the 8th inning, grounded back to the pitcher to end the 8th with nobody on, as the Beacons had just tied the game during his at-bat on a wild pitch. 0-1 with Duco at first base. Remember, he's already been thrown out once. The throw is high, and going up the ladder is Sutton Dole. Seen that for both teams. Quite a few throws, really forcing that first baseman to go up the ladder to avoid all of that extra foul ground over on the right side.
That's the one thing you don't want, is to try to check a runner there. All of a sudden that ball gets away, and you got a runner at second in scoring position with only one out.
0-1 bounces up there. Zuckerman does a nice job. He has seen a couple balls either bounce away from him or get back to the stop, but with all these pitchers loving that breaking ball in the turf, it's done a nice job to keep it to a minimum. We've got a time and a balk. Frank Auditor immediately called it. Let's see if we can see that play again from that center field angle and see what exactly Anthony Prawn did there to be called for the balk. That's the first on the season for Stevens, as the count is 1-1. So moderate chance to be the hero now with the runner at second, still looking for his first collegiate hit. What a fun experience it would be if it was a game winner. Takes a breaking ball off the corner, 2-1. Prawn, the freshman of Selden, New York, attended Clearview Regional Senior High School, 6'2", 212. Again, you just look up and down this lineup, and everyone essentially is 5'11 or taller, with the exception of Ben Tobio, stands at 5'7". That is just a little low, 3-1. And we've seen really good plate discipline here from Motter. He's been taking a lot of pitches.
Well, now you're at a 3-1 situation here with the runner on second. Trust yourself in a 3-2 spot. If you don't like this 3-1 pitch, get yourself into a full count and see if you can work yourself a walk or even get a hit here. But look, there's something right down the middle.
3-1 bounces up there, and the Beacons have 2 on with 1 out here in the 10th. Back-to-back walks from Prawn, both on full counts, and it'll bring up Gianni Zerilli, who, if you talk about possible heroes in this game, Zerilli's had a nice day. Pair of singles, fly out to center, and a strikeout. Zerilli was erased back in the 9th inning. He was on third base with 1 out on the grounder from McCormick back to the pitcher, Smith. Looking for his 3rd hit on opening day, and he takes the first pitch, fastball low, 1-0.
Great play there by Zuckerman, too. You get all these breaking balls here, you really got to trust your catcher that he's going to be able to make these stops, because quick little pass ball, and even with the speed, you got Duco and Motter on the base paths right now. The Beacons baseball team is, they love to be aggressive, especially on the base paths.
1-0 hit over to the shortstop, Paulich, who bobbles it, and he won't have a play. Another error by Thomas Paulich, and the Beacons have the bases loaded for the second consecutive inning as Ryan Leung will step up with a chance to win this game. And Gigi, I would say through the first 6 innings, maybe even 7 innings, it was the Beacons who were making defensive miscues that we're not used to seeing. It's been Stevens, Paulich in particular, 2 miscues that have allowed the Beacons to extend rallies or do something. So let's take a look at the balk first, and then we'll bring you that play by the shortstop Paulich. Let's see if we can break down exactly what Prawn did to move the runner up to second.
It gets called there. That's a late call for a balk.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Ball has already crossed the plate.
I didn't really see anything there, but
if we could take a look at it one more time, let's see. Yeah, that ball gets called right as it's crossing the plate. Originally I thought that it was because somebody had called a time, and it was a late call.
The good news is whether or not we're seeing anything and whether or not it should have happened, the positive is the balk hasn't influenced this inning in any way because you've got walk error. Let's take a look at that play right now by Paulich, where he was taking his time, realized he wasn't going to have 2, and then just bobbled it enough to allow Motter, who is not the Beacons' fastest base runner, to get in there. So you can see that second bobble, the runner was not there, and it allowed Motter to get there. Now, Leung, all he's got to do is put this ball in the outfield with Duco, a plus runner, at least we're told, over there at third base.
I also think you got to credit Duco there on that play, that error by the shortstop. He really got in front of his eyes and tried to block it as much as possible, and it kind of frazzles your shortstop a little bit.
Showing bunt, and Duco is going to be dead to rights there. The Beacons try the suicide squeeze after Leung successfully put down a sac bunt in the previous inning. And actually, in the previous inning, and unable to get it down is Leung, so the Beacons run into yet another out. And unfortunately, the runner at first base doesn't move up, so now there's a force at first and second. So Duco, to no fault of his own, is caught stealing and taking off for second. Now is Zerilli, so the Beacons at least take out the force out, but it is 0-2 here to Leung, who's still looking for his first hit of the season. Popped up to the catcher, popped up to third, struck out swinging, and put down a sac bunt. The Beacons tried to win it on a suicide squeeze. 0-2 to Leung, and that one bounces up there 1-2.
That definitely would have been a thrilling way to end this game, but at that point, it's a risky play, and you did have an out to give there with only 1 out. But when a guy who's been struggling a little bit here today, and Ryan Leung, can't let that previous play affect his mentality right now at the plate.
Beacons looking to avoid leaving 2 more here as the ball hit softly over the second baseman. Mendez has to charge, picks the throw. It's not in time. The Beacons win on a walk-off single from Ryan Leung. UMass Boston trailed by as many as 3, but Ryan Leung hustling the whole way, able to beat the throw. And the Beacons win as Noah Motter scores the game-winning run, and Leung able to beat it out on a soft chopper over to the second baseman, going hard the entire way and beats it by just a step. We'll show you the replay in a second, but a big celebration from UMass Boston as the number 14 team in the country earns the win on opening day.
You definitely can't draw up a play like that, but that's what we talk about when we say all you got to do is put your bat on the ball and put the ball in play and see what happens. Mendez was playing a little bit farther back. That ball was hit just slowly enough, and I really don't think that Leung meant to hit that so slowly. He was really just looking for contact there, but when you got good speed like he does, he can get his way down the line. We really got to put the ball in play, and luckily for the Beacons, they get out of that suicide squeeze situation that didn't work out, and they walk away with a win. Their 5th here at Monin Park to start season openers.
Ryan Leung's first hit of the season. It wasn't hit hard. In fact, it was hit just softly enough. Mendez charged but unable to get there, and the Beacons walk it off in the 10th inning. UMass Boston with their first win of 2020. Stevens, all they do is play close games. This is a tough one. They led up until the Beacons were able to score 2 in the bottom of the 8th inning, and UMass Boston walks it off in the 10th. What an exhilarating contest, 6-5. You see it, the errors played a big part. Another unearned run here for UMass Boston in the 10th. The Beacons gave up 2. I think Stevens ended up giving maybe 4 in the contest, but UMass Boston Not their best, but just enough. And let's take a look at whatever angles we have of that walk-off single by Ryan Leung.
You see here, just gets his bat on the ball. That's an outside pitch. That's not even a strike. And the pitcher went for it. Mendez just couldn't get it out. You see even that sidearm throw there, trying to get it out a little bit quicker, changing his arm slot there to no avail. Ryan Leung, great job of not giving up on that play. You know, oftentimes you see runners, you know, they hit a soft grounder in the infield and they just think, oh, I'm automatically going to be out. But Leung is really hauling his way down that first baseline, and he's safe. And there you see it. Beacons walk it off.
Bang, bang play. You can actually see it much better from that down low angle, and Leung just barely beating it, maybe by half a step. Ryan Leung, the hero on senior day, or on opening day, rather. It's a long way from senior day, fortunately, with this weather. But, Gigi, the biggest takeaway from UMass Boston today has to be the pitching. Defense can improve. Hitting certainly needs to improve. But the combination of Arruda and especially Rogers were lights out in this contest. Certainly probably looking better than we would have expected from February the 29th.
And it's really good also that you can limit the amount of pitchers that you need to use in a game like this, especially in the weather. Save a couple of your arms. You know, when you're coming right back at it on Monday, playing Suffolk University, and then you got a couple more games until you go down to Florida. And then in Florida, you're playing back-to-back, you know, pretty much every day for about 7 or 8 days, and that's really going to strain a couple of your pitchers' arms. So the fact that they, you know, went with Arruda for 5 innings and then you put Rogers in for another 5, I think they did a great job in really showing that senior veteranship that they have.
We are going to take a look right now at the highlights from this entire game, and then we will wrap up here from Monin Park as the Beacons win it 6-5 in 10 innings. bring on a third pitcher, but Beacons graduating not only their top starter, but their top closer, as that's on the outside corner. Falconite You see those were the highlights of the entire game. You see the final box score, UMass Boston, 6 runs on 9 hits, 2 errors. Stevens, 5 runs on 8 hits and 3 errors. That error in the bottom of the 10th inning on Paulich was very costly. The Beacons don't get down the suicide squeeze, puts it at 2 outs with runners on first and third, but Ryan Leung beats out the infield single for his first hit of the season, and UMass Boston moves to 1-0. Stevens falls to 3-4 in the first ever matchup between the Beacons and the Ducks. Let's take a quick look ahead for UMass Boston. 3 more games before the Beacons go to hopefully warmer weather down in Florida. The Beacons will be right back at it on Monday against Suffolk University at 2:30 p.m., Thursday against MIT, and then the following Monday against Framingham State before they start their Florida trip on, I believe it's that next Thursday against Penn State Abington. Quick shout out to our production crew. Most of these ladies who were standing outside for a couple innings at a time. My name is Seth Renski, your producer and play-by-play guy. Allie Crawford, Kelly Danahy, and Mary Jo Murphy directing and doing instant replay. These are just some of the camera operators. We had quite a few more, just trying to keep people as warm as possible. Katie Flagg, Bree Colucci, Gina Albano, Carly Fahey, Jordan Toomey, Elsa Vanaco, Sydney Sandin, Megan Adams, and probably a few more names doing a great job today getting you all of the sights from this season opener as the Beacons win it 6-5 on opening day over